Hi, hello, welcome. This is Directly to You. It's the 131st episode Directly to You. I'm AJ. I'm joined by Parker. We're fanatixfour collectively. And collectively, us together are joined by Max from LootPots. But also
for the
he's
audio
just our
listeners,
friend,
I
dude.
did little karate
Hello.
chops when he said my name. So
Uh-huh.
now
Yeah.
you know karate chops.
So you know
There
that Parker has a black belt in karate.
I don't
Uh,
know karate, so I didn't do any chops.
go.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was going to say something. I was going to do a lead into the housekeeping, but Max stepped all over it.
Me?
So, just like he
Parker's
steps
not talking about karate
all up
chops.
in our
What did I
house.
do?
You know what I mean? And you can support that very house by going to youtube.com/fanatixfour or twitch.tv/fanatixfour and giving us $4.99. Or if you have Amazon Prime, you can link it to your Twitch account so you can get Prime Gaming and give us a free subscription, dude, at no
Which will be a
cost to
lot
you.
easier to remember now that we're actually streaming.
Exactly.
We
And I
being you, but, you know,
stream
still.
at least once a week, usually at least on Wednesdays. But there's other times where, you know, all the Nintendo influencers on the planet are like, yo, let's play Among Us. And I'm like, yo, I'm down. Or I go up to somebody, I'm like, hey, you want to freaking do a 1st to 10 Smash Brothers match on Wednesday, which is going to be next week's stream. And also, I'm going to stream freaking Mario All-Stars again at some point, so I can talk about how much I don't like Mario 64, and exclusively that.
Boy.
But anyways, you get access to our supporters on Discord. You get free Switch keys from time to time. You get loyalty badges, you know, all that good stuff. And also, you get to talk to Brad.
Yeah,
Brad says things.
it's
Why
true.
have we ditched Duncan as the introduction?
Because he freaking
even
slighted
remember.
me, dude. He slighted me,
What did
and
he
he
say?
doesn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve a shout out anymore. It doesn't matter what he said. I don't even remember what he said, but I know he doesn't deserve
This
the
is
shout
how
out.
feuds. This is that that I still haven't finished Avatar: The Last Airbender, but this is that Avatar: The Last Airbender episode where it's those kids, the siblings, that play that one game, and then later it's like whole
Smash Brothers.
clans. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah,
Shouts out Duncan. Can't stop me. Can't be.
No. He didn't say that. He's taking that back. But anyways, you can talk to people in Discord. It's, you know, it's a great old fun time. People talk about stuff and play Valorant. Even
Max
though that's
has
not a
so many
Nintendo game.
hats.
He does have
He's
so
a
many
man of
hats.
many hats, but like very
There's so many
literally
hats,
as
dude.
well.
But yeah, you can also join our Discord regardless if you give us money or have Prime Gaming and talk to everybody. You know,
It's true.
you guys playing any video games that aren't Mario, so we can talk about Mario in a timely fashion that makes sense for
Yes, I am.
sequence. Okay, cool.
Parker, correct. Luigi doesn't count as Mario, so just so you know.
Victory. Yeah, I did see Mario in Luigi's Mansion 3, but yeah, I at some point this week just decided like, hey, I haven't finished Luigi's Mansion 3. I should finish it, you know? And so I did it. I did decide that. So I was on the 10th floor. I like had a little bit left to do on the 10th
Which
floor.
one was the 10th floor, sorry?
The like Egyptian one, sands and stuff like that.
Yeah, with the drawing. Cool.
That's the one with. So I was on that floor, and so I just finished the rest of the game, which there wasn't. I mean, there was a decent chunk of it. It was probably 5 more hours or so, something like that. And I played most of it with Ashley, and then she kind of stopped playing at some point, so we just both stopped playing. And I think that's most of why I fell off. I think there was a little bit of time that I was playing by myself before I stopped playing. But yeah, I went back to it. Man, still, like, people talk about it, and I'm just going to talk about it again. It looks so good. Like,
It's gorgeous.
It's
like the best looking Switch game easily.
I would agree with that. I mean, especially in terms of like, because there's other games that have different art styles that have different, you know, like that kind of thing where like aesthetically it might be more pleasing in one way or another. But this is the one that looks most like, wow, graphics, you know what I mean?
It's like the best looking game in the sense that it will still be a good looking game 5 years from now.
Yeah,
It looks good in the way that Wind Waker looked good when that came out, and still does.
Yeah.
It's got that sort of like the fidelity of like a Pixar sort of thing, but with the stylization of Mario that is the reason that Mario's looked good since the GameCube.
Yeah,
right.
And it's like going back to Toy Story. Toy Story doesn't look like you remember Toy Story 1 looking like Toy Story 4, and it doesn't if you go back and look at it, but it's like it's close, you know, as opposed to lots of other things.
The only
that
things
are not
about
that.
like Toy Story 1 that look like I don't even want to say bad, but not like modern.
off,
Is
yeah.
like animation itself, like the
Mhm.
physicality of it all. If it
Yeah.
was just standing still, it would look great.
Yeah.
But their movement is like.
We're talking Toy Story 1. What about the dog, man? What about that horrible dog?
True. So that was one thing in Luigi's Mansion. On that note, that was funny. You run into Mario and you interact with him because the whole thing is you're saving him and Peach, and that's like the premise. So there's like
They don't deserve it.
like one or two cutscenes with Mario doing things, and it is funny because like at one point Mario does these like wall jumps up a wall, and you have to climb up it because you're Luigi and you don't know how to do jumps. But as he does it, like the physics feel off of it. It doesn't look like it feels at all the same to like if you're playing a Mario platformer and it's jumping, he's just kind of like, oh, just like
You can just do
floating.
it. Yeah, he's like a superhero.
Yeah, but that said, it's good. The game, there's a couple of sections that have a bit more like backtracking, but not in the way that I necessarily want to kinds of things. I'm thinking like the cat sections. There's, I think, two of those.
Okay, yeah, that was probably the most annoying bit of the game.
That's
Yeah.
where I stopped.
Oh, you stopped? You didn't finish it?
I'm going to finish it one of these days, but
Okay.
like that was just coincidental. And then when
Yeah.
I came back to it, I was like, this isn't why I stopped, but it would be why I stopped if I stopped because I wanted to. You know what I mean? Like,
There was one or two other bits kind of like that I was like, I don't really feel like there's reason for me to be going back. But then like you go back to a whole area that you've been to before a little bit later, to find new things in that area. When you go back down to like the basement or whatever, you find new things in that area. And I was like, okay, that's nice that they did that, but it still felt a little bit like backtracky, redundant sort of thing.
So if you were on floor 10, does that mean that but in the time that you have recently played the game, you did the bit with the film cameras and the film sets?
No. So I've already done that.
Oh.
That was, that's the one that AJ was on, I guess,
okay.
with the cat. And
That's
the
good,
one,
man. That's really good.
it's a
yeah, I like that whole thing. It was cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, no, like specific comments other than it's just like, it's real fun. The pacing was good. There were times that I was worried it was going to do more of the kind of like backtracking for backtracking's sake, or like, oh, you thought that was the final boss? This is the final boss.
Yeah.
But it was like, it didn't do that. It was really satisfactory in that like kind of the things that you expect to happen are the things that happen, but they feel good at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
The last boss was kind of hard.
Yeah, I thought that. I had to like redo set like a bit over and over again. So I was like, come on, do the thing I need. Do the thing I need. Do it. And I was like, come on, just do the bit I need.
Yep. So that was a bit lame, but like when a final boss is like that, I don't mind it as much because then at least it's like, I achieved it. It's done. You know what I mean? So like, it's worth putting in a little bit of frustration to get that at the end.
The rubber dinghy boss was the worst boss.
Yeah.
That was pretty bad, man. That was pretty unfun. What's the opposite of fun? Not boring. It was pretty. It was just like it
Suck.
Yeah, it was suck. It was very suck.
I mean, literally, because Luigi's Mansion, but
Ew.
vacuums and stuff.
Hey.
But yeah, all that said, it was great. If anybody hasn't played it yet, or like AJ hasn't finished it, it's worth finishing up. It's just fun and enjoyable times. The one thing, okay, I did want to say this: the controls are still more janky than I would like.
Yeah, the controls
when
don't
I got
make
it
sense.
to like the optimal way, which is kind of like using the motion controls a little bit for the ups and downs and all that stuff. It's still like there are times that it would be stuck to where if like holding them straight is all the way up, and I would try to like recalibrate it or whatever, and it just didn't want to do it. It's like, goodness gracious.
The only thing I don't like about it is like the controls are redundant because it gives you options to do it on the face buttons or on the triggers. And I rather them had just made everything as far as like controlling the poltergeist stuff on the triggers. Just that, because
it's way better on the triggers.
It makes more sense on the triggers.
It makes no sense to use the face buttons.
Well, there are times that I'm just sort of like moving around and I would just like, as a force of habit, like hit the face button for flashing.
Right. But that's because it's there. Like if it would by default the triggers, you would never even think to do that.
No, I'm totally.
Oh, however,
I feel like
can you not play the game in single Joy-Con mode when you're if you can multiplayer, you split it up into single Joy-Con, right? Then you've got to get used to using the face
Buttons
buttons
instead
or
of-
using
yeah.
the thingy. So maybe that's something to do with it.
Can you not use the Pro controller when you're playing?
You can, but I mean, like the option is there for you to just be able to go zip and pull it out and do it.
That's
Right.
true.
So they probably want it
true.
to be. Yeah, that makes sense because even like camera wise, there's a way to do it where it's or not camera wise, but movement wise, you can do everything with just one joystick, which is probably that's how it works if you would just use a single Joy-Con.
That's probably why they did it, but I still don't think it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because like Smash Brothers, right? You can play
Yep.
Smash Brothers with a single Joy-Con, but the
Mhm.
controls aren't the same when you have them on
Yeah.
handheld mode, so it's like
You can play Smash Bros with a pair of bongos. I'm pretty sure you can use anything.
you probably can. You probably can.
I
Well,
can
that's what I
use
played-
Smash Brothers with just my mind. Turn it on CPU and I'm good to
Yo,
go.
it's true.
I'm like,
That's
yeah,
how
they
I
did
got good.
exactly
That's-
what I wanted.
That
them to do.
is actually how I got good with Min Min. I saw how she played as Sakura. I was like, oh, and you could probably do that, and then if you hit
That's
somebody
great.
like, and then I just tried it when she came out and it worked.
Mhm.
The first time I played Luigi's Mansion 3 was at EGX with Pixelpar, and we queued up for ages, and eventually we got in. And I was like, okay, I'll go on the TV with the Pro Controller. He's like, I'll take the Switch Lite. And we never used a Switch Lite before at this point. The two of us, it was our first time using
Oh
it.
yeah, right.
And he picked the thing up and starts playing Luigi's Mansion. And we're playing the exact same level. And I charge through it because I'm on the Pro Controller. And there's a really helpful girl there helping putting us out things to do. I look down at like Pixel's screen and he's just like in the first area. I'm like, you're right. He's like, I don't get the controls. It doesn't make any. This is so small. This is not a game to play on the light. But the person that was telling us what to do didn't say use the triggers. It was just like use the face buttons. But he's like having to somehow he's like clawing with the fear. It didn't work out very well.
Yeah.
It really wasn't a good experience. So yeah.
I feel like pretty much instead of doing what they did, which is give you a couple too many options, maybe just set it as like, do you want to play it like just A or B, and A is just one joystick and the buttons, or B is both joysticks and the way that we all played it.
They could do the thing that a
go.
lot of games do when you start playing the game, including a lot of Nintendo games, where it's like, do you want to play in this mode? It's just triggers, blah blah blah, or do you want to play in this mode? It's just buttons, blah, like that sort of thing.
But it is funny. This game, like the cutscenes from it, give me like. It'll be interesting comparing the Mario movie whenever that comes out in 2022 to the cutscenes from this game, because like honestly, it looks that good. Like I'm sure there's some enemies that are a little bit like not the best or something, whatever, but pretty much everything looks just flawless.
Looks good.
So there you go. That's mostly what I've been playing. Finished that up yesterday. Wanted to finish it up prior to Mario comes out.
Discussing October 2019 games in September 2020. That fresh cutting edge content.
That's right. You better believe it.
That's what you watched directly to you for.
I do think that sometimes, like other podcasts, people will be like, "What are you playing this week?" Oh, this is new thing, because like that's what people want to know if they should buy the new thing. And like,
because there's things.
Nah, man, I'm playing Divinity Original Sin.
But even on like IGN's podcast, they're like, "Oh yeah, I went back and I was playing freaking
Donkey Kong
Okami
Tropical
or whatever,
Freeze,
like some random game that just they're playing."
Yeah.
People want to know what we're playing.
You're not wrong.
I just listen to you guys' podcast, right? I'm not going to listen to any other podcast apart from you guys. No one else might say my name at any minute, so why would I listen?
It's true.
That's true.
I mean, I'm not saying that nobody else might, but we definitely do. What about you guys? You been playing anything other than Mario?
I mean, I've been sort of like jumping in and out of just little things because I knew this was coming, and I was like, yeah, okay.
Let me play a game so I can do this segment.
Yeah, I was like, I'll play some stuff. So I picked up, I played a little bit of Dead Cells, which I haven't played in a while. Now the issue with that is that I started in the middle of a run and forgot all the buttons.
Oh no! Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, and I had all this really good gear, and I was like, I'm just gonna throw this away. And there's no way for me to like practice and then come back to it. I could have just like started the game again on another controller, but another
profile. That's exactly what I was gonna say.
But eventually I just gave up and died. And that's still really fun. It still feels really fluid. There's so much new content though that I actually felt a bit overwhelmed. Which I do sometimes. If I don't stick with the game and then a load of stuff happens, I then come back into the game like, oh no, I just I'd rather be eased into it than do it all at once. So that didn't last very long. I also played a little bit. Do you remember Sayonara Wild Hearts? Came out last year. It's that's really good. It's really good soundtrack.
When you say isn't that game only like 2 hours or something? So like
I've played like 3 songs.
Nice. Okay.
But I did them until I did, but did them quite well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fun.
Oh, so you
That's
just
nice.
replayed the same songs several times
Yeah,
to
I only
get a
played
good
for
rank
like
or
sort
something?
of like half
Do
an
you get
hour.
ranks in that game? Is that a
Yeah,
thing?
you get ranks. Yeah, and
Okay.
there's like the coins and there's the sort of the hearts you collect. But I
Mhm.
wanted to get the big hearts as well. That's a fun game.
Cool.
I enjoy that game. It looks nice. It sounds really nice. But really, that was all in preparation for using my Switch again. However, I have just recently bought, or I've just bought Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate because it was on sale for like £14, down from 40 quid. So I was like, yeah, fine. That's going to be something I pick up and play in the meantime while I wait for another game that we're going to talk about later. So that's pretty much it. I mean, other than playing, with my own heart, making Metroid collection memes on the internet.
Right.
Nothing. What about you, AJ? Smash Bros. By any chance?
A little bit, but mostly it's just been games that I've been playing like on stream. So like we played Among Us a couple of times. Then also Ian hit me up and he was like, "Yo, you want to play Among Us?" And I was like, "Okay." So I played that. Among Us is great.
I just don't get it, man.
As in, you've played it, but you don't like it?
So I played it a couple of months ago. A friend of mine was like, "Oh, there's this game called Among Us. It's £4. We're playing it." And I was like, "All right, okay." Must have been like July time. So I bought it with real money, human being money.
That's your
I
first
joined
mistake.
him and his friends all playing it. I know them enough to sort of like know who is who. Blah blah blah. We all pick our characters. We play the game. I'm like, okay, I'm sort of doing things. Okay, I'm a bad guy. Cool. And then it came to like someone's reported something, and then we're all like in this chat, like going, "Oh, it's him, it's him, it's him." And I was like,
So, you weren't voice chatting at all? It was just
no,
you
voice chatting,
were
yeah.
okay.
But it was like we all of us who were alive would talk, and then those of us who were dead would be in a separate chat. I don't know. I played like a couple of hours of it with them. I played a few games, and I was just like, I don't get what I'm trying to do. I'm not having any fun. I could be playing other games. This seems like some of the sort of hidden role games that I've played that are like board games that are more fun. But nah.
Yeah,
I think it's largely dependent on who you play with.
I was going to say the exact same thing.
And I think that it's just more of a coincidence that I've consistently had so much fun with it because like when we were playing with all the Nintendo people, like Miss Click and Beat 'em Ups and Bob and all that, right? Yeah, I didn't know any of these people, like except for Bob, and the people that I know. But it was still fun. And then the second time we played, it was like more or less the same, even though I have a better idea of these people's personalities and stuff like that, right? And then I played with Ian and a lot of his friends who I know Ian and I know Alex, who is also playing, but I know nobody else. Yeah. And it was still really fun. So it's like, I think, I don't know, man. It's cool.
You're gonna have to show me the ropes. You're gonna have to play with me. Show me what I was doing wrong by playing it with those people. Why I didn't have any fun. You make me have fun with it.
I'm down.
I think it also has, because I didn't understand this for a bit, but there's like tasks that you can accomplish to where like if everybody finishes their tasks before the bad guys are the last one standing or whatever, pretty much, or before they outweigh the number of good guys standing, then you win that way. So like there's a bit of meta game going on with it, but most of it is the whole like trying to
and there's like a meta game even within that where it's like I freaking when I was playing with Ian's friends, every time somebody suspected me of being the killer, I literally was crew every single game. But because I was only beelining it to my task, they're like, I don't know, man. I didn't see AJ. That's suspicious. I'm like, dude, I'm just living my life here. I'm just doing tasks, putting wires in the connectors and stuff, man. I don't know what you want from me, but that's what it is. It's like you got to kind of think like the killer, even when you're not the killer, because it's like, wait, if I'm here, then I'm suspicious, and I don't want to
like always be like people always got to be seen around one other person, kind of thing. Like, have an alibi. Yeah.
And to some degree, even I feel like if I'm new to a group of people, but they're all having fun, as long as I'm not like getting killed right at the beginning or something like that, which I'm sorry. No, it's fine. But like, as long as I'm not always not able to be a part of it and it feels like clicky or something like that, which wasn't the case that other time.
Yeah.
Then if nothing else, it's just fun to observe. It's almost like just observing the other things going on in the chaos of like, what's happening. But
it's also funny when you die It's funny watching the person that kills you being like how
Right.
they're like talking around. I was like watching Bob the one time that he killed me. I'm like, this piece of garbage, dude. Like just like because
the kinds of lies they tell.
Bob's whole strat is to just always be aggressive. Like he's just always
that's what
aggressive.
you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So he's just like, I didn't do anything, man. I'm just sitting here, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, you piece of garbage, dude. You killed me, and I know it, and you know that I know it. Like, dude, stuff like that happens.
What I didn't like is because the way we played it, where like if you died, you have to just come out of the voice chat, go into a different channel in Discord, and then just sort of like sit out.
Oh, did you not listen to them talking?
So we couldn't hear them talking. We
Oh no, that's dumb.
No,
That's dumb. That's
yeah.
a bad way to do it.
You just got to mute yourself. That's the
Okay.
That's the way to
if
do
I
it.
died, because if I died first,
Yeah,
I would then just be sat in this channel on my own, like watching the game.
No, that's super dumb.
no,
like that
dumb.
breaks the whole thing. Because what you want to do is be able to sit there and, like AJ said, like I see, Max, that you killed me or whatever, and then even if I thank you so much. Even if you killed me like right away, then the rest of the time I'm seeing you, just blatantly lie about it, and it's just funny.
This sounds better than AJ. I'll play with you, and I'll play with you, Parker.
Yeah, man.
Well, people know how to play the game, and you can teach me all of the rules, and I can have fun with this game that I paid. I don't want to have wasted £4. You know what I mean?
That's
true. A lot the currency exchange is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't pay. I paid for it because I didn't want the ads, but I'm playing on mobile, so it didn't cost anything. But that's another thing. That's my one gripe with this, where it's like I wish that I could at least use a controller because that messes me up a lot. Where it's like I'm just wrestling with the controls, and people are like, "But you were just standing there." I'm like, "Dude, I'm just trying to freaking."
I know the controls are pretty janky.
Yeah,
honestly.
So it's like me just trying to control the game makes me look suspicious, and that's like,
What are you playing it on, AJ?
I'm playing it on my iPhone.
Oh, wait, can you use it crossplay?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Okay, cool.
There you go.
Yeah, that's Among Us, dude.
That's right. And Among Us is a new Mario game. It's within our midst. It's Among Us into the world of the Switch, and we played it. Actually, it's not a new Mario game. It's a collection of old Mario games.
It's 3 old.
Let's talk about it.
Mario games.
Too old.
And they did not update their copyright years, which somebody on Twitter was mad about.
Heinous.
Oh my God.
Heinous crime.
That was really funny. I was glad you retweeted that, Max.
Heinous crimes, man.
Yeah, that's not how that works.
Getting away with this stuff, man.
That's right.
This whole thing has been tripping me out. Like I was like laughing at the people in Bob's chat because they're like, "How'd you get this game early?" Which he did, but like, "How did you get this game early?" I'm like, "Dude, these games are 20 years old. Like, you can play it now too."
Like, it's funny. I've got that mentality of like, I don't like no spoilers or whatever for myself. Just like, I'll just won't watch things that I'm excited about just so I can play for myself. But even with that, like, even with this collection, there's some of that where I'm like, I don't want to, and I'm like, I'm so dumb. Like,
did you see my stream name yesterday?
No, what was it?
That's what it was. I was like, no spoilers. I want to see if Mario makes it to the end.
It was good. But yeah, so far, has everybody played it some?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've only played 64. Which is stupid because 64 and Sunshine are the two that I've played that I know. I've never played Galaxy.
Same.
So for some reason, I'm just going in at 64, which I think is personally the worst of the three just because of...
I agree.
Oh,
wholeheartedly.
Because of the controls, because of the, I think the level design is pretty it's so bland compared to the newer games. Everything about 64 is just sort of like I played it on the DS, and even then I still thought it was the worst. It was worse than Sunshine. And then having skipped Galaxy and playing Odyssey, I was like, well, Odyssey is clearly the best out of the ones that I've played. So yeah, going back trying to play through 64, it's quite frustrating in a way because it just seems like clunky and the buttons don't quite match up. We literally just seen a tweet by Emily Rogers like 2 seconds ago that said, "Oh, Super Mario 64 really holds up the controls and the level design." I'm like, I am thinking the exact opposite.
Yeah. But I think that's the separation there. It's like the only people I see saying this game is great are people that thought the game was great.
Yeah,
25 years ago. Like,
I'll definitely agree with that as being somebody who still thinks this game is great. But like yesterday, so a bit of an outsider's perspective, I actually played a little bit of Super Mario Odyssey recently, and it didn't quite hook her. I think just didn't quite hook her, just because I think it's like the open-ended nature of it is just not quite what she enjoys. Whereas for me, that's something that I love about it. So that's the thing. So like even just the genre in general, even at its best, which Odyssey is, I would argue, it still like isn't necessarily her thing, but she liked it enough. So she tried Mario 64 yesterday, and yeah, it's I love the game. It's just fun to play. I played like 10 stars last night, and I'm gonna play some more later when I can. But she played through 1.5 stars and just got frustrated. And I'm like, yeah, I could definitely
It
see it.
feels
Like
so bad.
it feels familiar to me. But like honestly, if only 1.5 things were changed, it's the camera. That's like the thing that so many things would be fixed if the camera were fixed.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is like hit detection and like correction on if you're trying to, you know, like there's times where you try to jump up to a ledge and grab it, and it just like should be QA'd a bit better to where it's like, you know, I mean, again, it's an old game, but like that's one thing.
I think the camera definitely needs to get changed. I think the game feels super clunky and unresponsive. I think that like that's every N64 game, but it's not an N64 game on the Switch. You know, like they could have did something about that if they really wanted to. But at the same time, I know why they didn't. It's not like this. I'm not looking at it in the sense of like this is lazy, but it's annoying because the people that are making the excuses of like it's an N64 game are the reason why Nintendo's like I don't know if I want to change this or not because people love it for what it is, and it's just frustrating. And I especially hate streaming it because it's people that again love this game because they've been playing it for freaking 25 years actively, you know, where it's like, well, obviously you just got to jump 3 seconds after you think that you're supposed to, you know, like that type of dumb crap where it's like, you got to think around the game's jank. And it's like, I'm playing the game that's in front of me.
Right.
It's interesting how I, you know, I think the game is sort of clunky in the way that it does certain things. And I think that picking things up is quite clunky. I think that throwing a box and it just sort of whizzes off into the middle of nowhere, all that stuff's kind of weird. However, I do think that the jumping feels like exactly, you know, the timing of the triple jump, the being able to do the backflip jump, like all of that stuff. I can see how that hasn't changed and it still feels the same. So I can see like there is elements of Mario in here where I'm like, this is definitely a Mario game. This is definitely like at the time, this is probably like,
I don't know.
Oh my god, my mind is melting. I don't know. Actually, I'm not sure.
It's definitely a Mario game.
But yeah,
and
but now
very joking for that.
And I want to be clear, like as a game overall, I think this is still better than most other platformers even today. But as a Mario game, it's a bad game. Like,
do you think it's quite bland as well? It feels bland to me. I don't know if it's just because it's old and it's been iterated.
I think that's the thing. It's like it's hard to, like, okay, earlier I posted a picture on Twitter of Monster Hunter Rise versus Monster Hunter Generation Ultimate. Yeah, and so like just looking at that, it's interesting seeing how like because one was a 3DS game that was upscaled, so like, you know, it looks great for a 3DS game, but as a 3DS game, it could only do so much. So like just the textures and background and all that stuff, I mean, just graphically, it just looks bland because of what it was there for. But then even, as far as like, it's kind of one of those where I can't look at it with 2020 lenses in certain ways, but then I can with others. So like the things that I can look at it with 2020 lenses are like, I feel like the camera,
the camera's horrendous.
Like the one thing that bugs me so much.
Camera.
Yeah, I want to move okay, here's the thing that I realized about it. The camera works like a human neck as opposed to like exactly. Where
like a camera on a like a gimbal or
right,
something.
exactly.
Like,
so it'll only allow you to twist around like a couple times to the left or a couple times to the right, but then it won't fill in the whole, you know, like you can't just go right and reset. So that's one thing where like I feel like they could have done something different way back in the day, because that's always bugged me. But there's a lot of things like the level design. I think now we've had a lot more interesting stuff, but I think at the time it was, you know, like really impressive and all that. And I still think the levels are fun. But I will say that, like, again, watching Ashley play it yesterday, when I was on the first level, King Bob-omb, and like, oh, he's up there, you go up there. Some of it is the fact that, like, notoriously, I'm pretty good with directions. She's not that great with directions. So, like, some of it is just like, it's obviously a twisty turny way to get up there on purpose, but most of the time, if you're not used to games in general, you would think in kind of like a bird's eye, like, I'm trying to go that way. It's like, oh, but you can't go up there. You have to go.
But also a lot of this,
that's just game design stuff anyway. But
a lot of the, from what I've experienced, like people in the chat and stuff like that, a lot of it is like, and just even removed from looking at the chat to figure out what to do, it is all memory based. It's like, okay, I got to get the 8 coins.
Kind of exploration stuff. And
like people that know where the 8 coins are like, this mission's easy because I did it 37,000 times.
Right.
But me, I'm like, all right, where are these supposed to be? Like, I know where certain ones are just because I understand how game design works. But other ones are like, well, duh, you got to go
it's
up
not
to
really
the
a like
island in the
speed
sky,
run on your first time kind of game. I mean, obviously it's not your first time, but like speed run without a lot of information.
I've played it in a long time.
Yeah.
Because again, like, and it was this thing of like, and I think we talked about it a little bit when you were in chat, where it was like, when's the last time you played this game? It was like 5 years ago, because I don't like it. Like, it was like, it's less of a thing of like, and I think that that's even more so what it makes me talk about this so much, is because I don't understand the justification of like, well, it's a product of its time, but I was alive and playing games, and I loved this game when I first played it, but then I played it again.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, yeah, no, this game's not great. Like, I just don't get.
I think a lot of it too is like
experiencing things like
in that time. Right. Yeah. I mean, and I totally get that. I think the thing with games of that era, especially, like there's kind of 2 different directions that a lot of them go. Either it's the arcade, like you try a couple times, like Ghosts and Goblins, you try a couple times, you die, you have to start all the way over again. It's really annoying, and the replay value is in just having to try a bunch of times at something being annoying.
Yeah.
The other direction, I feel like, is the ambiguity and schoolyard kind of purpose of games, where like the original Zelda. Legend of Zelda, even Ocarina of Time, and you know, this game as well. There's a lot of things where it's like, did you know you can do it like this? And like, anybody could figure it out after a while, but like, it would just take you some time. But then now, removed from all that, doing it for the first time, like, it's not as much fun having somebody tell you like, oh yeah, for this thing, you touch that and then go over this place and do that thing.
And also, removed from all that, nobody says it like that. It's not a schoolyard thing.
Yes.
It's obviously you're so bad at this game because you don't play it every year. 3
You're
times
supposed to put yourself into the corner of this wall to reveal the star, man.
It's
called Explode the Wall, man. What I think about this game is that Nintendo surpassed it and made it better. Like, as in, like, with every element, every newer Mario, they make it better and better and better. But people, because of how nostalgia works, still have it in their head that 64 is the best one.
The first one that they played is always going to be the best one, and that's usually the case with all.
I mean, same with like Pokemon Gen 1 kind of thing.
That's pretty
like,
much
I
the
love
case
Pokemon
with
Gen 1,
every Nintendo franchise.
but it's got same problems for sure.
The first one is always going to be the one that the first one that they play anyway, the one that they're going to be like, this is the best one.
I mean, I think all things considered. So let's talk a little bit more just about, because that's the only one I've played any of so far. In
I
this
played
collection.
I was streaming it.
Yeah.
But so when I was streaming it, I played in order of how much do I remember this game, with the exception of 64, because I knew I wasn't going to like it, and I knew people were going to not like that I didn't like it. So I saved that one for last, and then I went back to Galaxy and all that stuff. So I played Sunshine, and I was like, yeah, I can definitely see how this game was an improvement on 64, and I definitely think it's a better game than 64. But Galaxy was a marked improvement over Sunshine.
I'm excited to show Ashley Galaxy, because I've played Galaxy 2. I haven't played Galaxy 1 at all. But I know that like that's just more her speed, as far as like it's more linear, and you can tell like I'm supposed to go do that thing, and there's some fun stuff to do along the way, so it's just enjoyable. As you know, more like a 2D Mario or Donkey Kong or something like that, as opposed to, you know, this kind of thing. But
I'm still shocked and surprised that there are people who are so like attached to the idea of Sunshine being not just like not as good as 64 or Galaxy, but Sunshine is a bad video game.
Right.
Because it's not regular Mario. It's because of flow.
Yeah, exactly. They
and
mix
because
it
of like the pachinko bit, you know. Like,
Now I loved Sunshine because I played it as a kid. But I played it recently and was like, yeah, I still enjoy this. I still enjoy the added elements that the movement gives you. I enjoy going back to those levels where they take flood away and you're just doing normal Mario platforming, the challenges. I enjoy the presentation of it more. I enjoy the locations more and things like that. I just think that it's
got
so,
personality for sure.
so more personality in 64, because 64 is not just bland in like the way that you said about like how the visuals are a bit because of the visuals are like the way they are, that it's bland. I mean, in terms of like the boss is a big round bob-omb king. The boss is it's the same thing, you jumped on its back, but it's bigger and it's got a crown, and you know, it's always the same: get behind them, grab them, get behind them, jump on them, blah blah blah. Because of what Flood lent to it, you had things like the PT Piranha boss fight. You had things like where you're pulling on the squid's tentacles. They had all this interesting stuff in Sunshine that made it more of a fun game. Whereas 64 is supposed to be like this pure platforming experience that I just don't think holds up at all.
I think, I Sunshine overall, like there are some, and I've said it on here before, there are some just overall game design kinds of things that are frustrating comparatively, where like I don't love that you have to get the 7th shine of every world to be able to move on specifically, and like instead of being able to get like kind of whichever one you want. That's something that I did enjoy, just game design wise in general, from 64 that's not in Sunshine. But otherwise, in a lot of the other ways, just like you said, I think, it's like the movement feels better, the hit detection is better, the camera is a lot better, even though there's a couple of places where it's real bad.
Camera's still not great.
Yeah.
But like,
better,
so
right?
I'll be interested in playing it on this as well and seeing how different it is. What do you guys think about, like, do you care that it's emulation versus whatever?
No.
Whether it runs on an emulator or whether it's running natively on the Switch doesn't bother me, because if at the end of the day they are doing a collection of ports, my issues with that aside, at the end of the day they're doing a collection of ports. Whether they actually put the effort into port it and whether it's emulated, it's identical. You know, the only reason we know it's emulated is because someone's gone into the code and found it, and therefore people are upset about it. It's the same way that when Xenoblade Chronicles, when that someone found the document in that was like, by the way, the minimum this game can go is 540p, whatever it was. 25.
It was like
people were like, that the game runs at this. And it's like, no, that's the minimum. You wouldn't notice that if the game, if you didn't see this in a leak or a hack.
In a 100-hour game, you'd have like a couple minutes total of like, well, that was kind of not that great.
That's like the thing that like I'm so conflicted on the existence of Digital Foundry, because I think they do great stuff. But I also think that their existence encourages so many toxic people.
Like having watched back in the early days of the Switch stuff and watching again now, I think they've figured out how to frame it better now, in a way that like they'll praise the good stuff and like they'll say, but this is not very often at all, and it's not a big deal, whereas they didn't really say that before.
But there's like, I think
not that their intentions have changed. I think their intentions were fine the whole time, but people are going to be toxic regardless.
But that's the thing. I think it's the buzzwords that's the problem. And it's the whole thing of like, this is 540p. People don't freaking know what that means, but they know that that's not the resolution that the games are on the big console. So
I mean, I watched the one on this. I watched the one on this game, and there was something again. John Linneman that did it?
John Linneman,
and he did a great job. But like, there was one part where he was like, and in this part, I don't remember what it was, but the isotropic filtering was just a little bit different, blah blah blah, than this other thing, which is not really a big deal. But
the isotropic filtering.
And honestly, I looked at it and I was like, I mean, it was an isotropic filtering. I don't even remember what that is.
Just saying.
But I was like, I legitimately can't see the thing. I was like, I can't see the thing he's talking about at all. Like, I have no idea what he's talking about. I'm sure he's right. But, like, it's one of those things that, like, then you just pointed out to people who also would have never noticed and don't care.
It's like, and this is a bad comparison because, again, like you said, I'm sure that is actually the case of what he's talking about. But it's almost a placebo. It's like you telling them that problem exists is like, well, this is bad now because freaking Digital Foundry told me that this is bad, so I know it's bad. But
and I think
honestly, I think that this could have a net positive effect on us on the Switch and all that stuff, because now we know that they have emulation in place.
Totally.
Wii, GameCube, and N64.
I mean, everybody who knows what they're talking about has said that they could essentially just replicate this pretty easily with other games. So like that's awesome.
So people that have used hack switches, obviously the issue with the hack switch that's making these games specifically crash. However, people have Yeah, I was just holding it and opening it and closing it to make your audio really bad when you guys play it back. Sorry, guys.
There you go.
When you people have, I think, put games, just popped games into this emulator they've now been given and tested them out, and a lot of them work. So that could mean, obviously,
And for what it's worth, I mean, it says
not in that you can play them properly and all that stuff. So.
right. I mean, it also, I know we're having issues. People with hacked switches are having issues with this game in general. So, like, probably the fact that the hacked switches aren't on 10.0.0, that firmware update, but then also that's the ones they're trying to run those games on, that the emulators require 10.0.0, means that, theoretically, if they're not working on that, it's even more likely they would work when they're on the right firmware eventually.
And yet it's the hacker's opinion that's being bandied around as fact for the last couple of, or the hacker's experience, sorry, is being bandied around as the overall experience, despite, like you say, them being on software that isn't supported and all of this stuff. Yet that's the one that's like, oh, these games crash. These games run like garbage. These games have all these glitches. Whereas, I mean, the games just run like they used to because they're emulated. And
I think going back to the emulation thing, my main thought with it is like, I think the way they marketed these and the way that they exist is that these are the games as they always have been, as they always were, just looking better. And some of them, like, sure, they've changed the controls for some of the games, and like they're in 16:9 for Sunshine specifically. Yeah. But otherwise, I think at that point, it's like, once I've accepted that it's like, okay, you're not going to change any things. I would have loved for you to change some things, to be perfectly honest. But like, if you're not, then yes, these are the best versions of those games.
Honestly,
as they stand.
If these games, like as they exist now, if they ran natively and they exist the way that they do now, I'd be more mad than them being emulated, because it's like going through the work to like physically port these games to the console, and it runs natively. Fix these games. Like even Sunshine, right? Like I like Sunshine and it controls well and stuff like that, but I wish they added motion. I think it would feel better if they added motion,
especially with Flood being as sort of like pointy as he is, right. I mean, the fact that Galaxy, which has a literal pointer, has the motion controls on it, like you say, if they were to actually have reworked these games, but then again, if they rework these games, it then opens up a whole can of worms.
Exactly. I think they kind of have to go all one or all the other sort of thing.
But it also, like, it makes sense that it's all emulation, because it's done by their team that works on their emulators. So it's like, duh.
And, okay, here's the interesting thing too. It also reportedly it started in as early as February that they started working on this, maybe March. Which does that mean to us that they realized they would only need this amount of time to do what they wanted, or that was a decision that they started making in February, or closer to there, or what does that mean to you guys?
I think that this has clearly been like in the works for longer than that. I think that it was just that all of their plans have been scuppered in terms of announcement and hype and stuff like that. This wasn't supposed to be announced and released in 2 weeks. This was supposed to be announced,
3 months ago.
Pre-E3, be playable at E3 alongside, Paper Mario and other things like that. Wait, when did Paper Mario come out?
July.
And yes, that. And it was going to be a big Mario themed time.
Mario themed time.
And I don't think that this is the kind of thing, like, because the rumors, I don't think the thing was like people were like, oh, maybe we should do this, and then the rumors came out, and then they were like, okay, well now we've got people were saying that because the rumors happened, Nintendo were like, that's a good idea, why didn't we think of that? And then that's why it's all lazy, and that's why it's all emulators, because they came up with the idea after a fake rumor came out. But like, does anyone have any idea how long these things take to come?
No, and that's the problem. That is the problem.
I think I'm on that side of the fence too, that this has been in the works for a while, obviously, like them doing, because otherwise what would have been the big tentpole Mario thing? Super Mario 3D World maybe, but like that still doesn't seem a Wii U port doesn't seem like a big tentpole thing for Mario's 35th anniversary.
I don't even think that, like, for this year, just in, like, as far as that goes, I don't think any of this was supposed to be holiday. I think all, like, including maybe 3D All-Star, 3D World was going to be, like, their October game.
Oh, yeah, I would agree with that.
Like, I just can't see them actually.
I think this is around when, I think it would have launched at the same time, and maybe a week before or something like that, if it, if it had been, not for COVID and all that stuff. But I definitely think that they've been planning it for a while. But yeah, I guess just knew like it'll take us 6 months to get it up and running. And that's probably even less than that. So like, we'll just go ahead and, use our teams to do other things and then reserve them at that point. Cause like, there's no point in starting something 3 years ahead of time that only takes 6 months. Like maybe they only needed 2 months really. And so, but they planned 6 months to be generous.
Exactly,
I don't know.
yeah.
Right.
So in any case,
Well,
I'm
you
excited
don't
to keep
make
playing the games because
sense.
they're good games.
Yeah.
Even 64.
I
say.
am probably gonna stop playing 64 now that I've sort of had my time with it. Remember why I don't like it. However, I have people that I work with, people that I know who are probably aren't going to spend the £40 this is or £50 to get this collection, just because that's a lot of money for like 3 old games that you maybe going to play as like a novelty kind of thing. And these have all got kids, things like that. So I think that I'm probably going to like play that with them. Like I'm going to save 64 for like if I'm like hanging out with them, and I'll be like, okay, I'll show you. Let's play some 64.
Yeah.
But
I think 64 is still a great game for kids specifically.
Oh yeah.
Because like it's fun to explore, it's fun to find things, and like it has the perfect like arc for even a kid of today who like is like, I don't know how to do this, but I'll keep beating my head against the wall to figure it out. Whereas for adults, we're like, but nobody told me the right way to do it in this game, that kind of thing. So,
but even that I think depends on the kid.
That's
like
true.
if they're not super familiar with games, yeah, for sure. But if they are, I don't know. I think they're gonna
depends on the kid,
similar.
depends on their age for sure. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like I almost wish that I'd gotten it. I didn't. I got it digitally. And the only reason I would have wanted it physically.
Oh wait, never mind. You can't. Well, you could. You could have just asked me for my Australian account and then just gotten it physically.
That's true. But yeah, either it would have been, it's kind of nice to have the box of it because like collector's item or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But also, who really cares? Look at that. But then the other bit is that it would be nice to be able to share it with people if I need to. But I like having it just accessible at my fingertips. So that's about it. Any last thoughts for Mario 3D All-Stars?
Yes, I just remembered. How the hell do you fly the stupid hat? How the hell does that work? It says
what do you mean?
Fly, and then it says dip and then go up. So I dip and I pull up, and then I go up like that, and then it goes, oh no, you've used all your dip up. How do you get higher? How do you fly higher?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's kind of like the cape in Super Mario World, of which you haven't really played. I just remember it's true. Yeah, it pretty much. If you can actually get higher and higher and higher, it's hard. Like, cause I was trying it last night and it's tricky. So I think like for the most part, you kind of just like can mostly stay level and just lose a little bit. But like if you dip down and come back up, there's probably some perfect timing to do it to where you can actually gain a little bit of height. But
yeah,
I don't know.
I'm just not going to bother. I'm just going to move on and start playing Sunshine soon. I might play Sunshine tonight, actually.
You might.
I'm debating if I want to start another file that I can play off stream.
So you can enjoy the game and not have to be told. And then what happens is
practice speed running for when you do play on stream.
Yeah. People can't say you're trash.
Also because I just want to actually play it. Like I want to play it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But I know that also makes me like games less. It's like the whole thing of like, because beyond the fact that I don't actively play these games, my attention is split 5 different ways. So it's like I missed that, like Flood. I didn't see that Flood was just sitting there. I'm like, where's Flood? Why are they telling me where Flood's at? I wasn't reading the thing. I'm looking at chat. I'm trying to figure out why my audio's not working. I got like all that stuff. So I kind of want to play it to like have a buffer,
just
almost
have fun. Yeah.
I
feel so yeah, there's that, but we're going to have a lot of fun when we play all these games from the Nintendo Direct Mini Partner Showcase, September 17th, 2020. And now we're going to talk about them, starting with obviously the most important of all of these, PGA Tour 2K21. What do you guys think?
I'm there, man. You know me.
I'm
a big golfer. You know me. I've got I look like a golfer. Tiger Woods. Big Tiger Woods guy. Big up you.
Oh yeah. No. I don't think you're allowed to be that now.
No.
I don't. All I know is that there is some controversy with him. I think, and that's about all I know. So there you go.
That's what you need to know, really. I guess.
That's most of the time. That seems like that's how my brain is. Okay, but that said, let's talk about this. Actually, I do want to go boringest to most interesting, just because we can get the easy ones just out of the way instead of throwing them in the middle.
Yeah.
So
do you have this list in that order?
No, I sure don't.
I mean,
Yes.
they kind of listed like
It's
that,
kind of back
but
to
from the bottom up.
Yeah,
And who is they, AJ?
Nintendo,
it's
but also
mynintendo.news.com.
News. Yeah, this is just a PR
Oh, is this just
thing.
PR?
though. Yeah,
So there
source
you go.
Nintendo of
Come on,
America.
sick.
Uh,
Oh well.
So, all right, here we go. In sort of backwards order, Rune Factory 5. You guys, I'm not saying that's the worst one by any means, because some people are very excited about it.
Nintendo are saying it's the worst one. Deal with it.
Yeah, do you guys care at all about Rune Factory 5?
No.
Don't know what this is. What Rune Factory? Is this
It's
like the one
kind
that's like?
of, it's sort of in the Stardew world. Yeah, but like with more action RPG kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And this one, as opposed to the other ones, which were a little bit more like top down. I mean, they're all very anime, I think, to my understanding. But the other one was like top down stuff. This is the first one that's kind of more like 3D cell shaded graphics kind of thing ish.
To quote Mario, this looks like some weeb trash.
Yeah, dude.
So I don't know. For people that like those, this is super exciting. I know like Casey DeFreitas from IGN is super excited about this. That's pretty much the only person that I know that is. So there you go. Cool stuff.
Cool.
Balan Wonderworld, Balan. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
Balan, yeah.
I know Scootish is hyped for this game.
Yeah. So here's my thoughts seeing it.
Give them.
I think the game looks like maybe it's 3D platformer. I like 3D platformers. The trailer itself was not well done. A lot of times in these directs, they've got just weird like audio levels and pacing of things or whatever, and that felt like the case, especially with this game, where it was just like not super well paced. Where I didn't feel like it did the game justice. But yeah, I mean, it's a 3D platformer, and like I don't know. There's one bit about it that's a bit suspicious that we'll talk about in a little bit, but it's coming out on March 26th, 2021. Which,
yeah.
What could that mean?
I'm just watching the Balan Underworld trailer now, and I've got to say, like, the parts where you're running around like this big green overworld look like just the most generic trash in the world. However, bits when you're like in a like a bookcase kind of thing. There's a bit where you like become a sheet like that. That looks kind of fun, but there is like some of it that's just like, man, this looks like a nothing game. However, it's always nice to see new IPs in this sort of thing. Yeah. Especially like it's not just like purely like a, hey, you remember this kind of game? You used to like this kind of game. We're an indie team who used to make those kinds of games, making one for you. Give us money to make it. This is just
is it not that?
It's Square Enix.
I'm pretty sure this is Square Enix. Yeah. This is
it's Square Enix, but it's by the Sonic guy.
Oh, or is it
Sonic and Dreams?
Yeah, I was gonna say Nights into Dreams.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of like ukulele, it's not like ukulele where it's like, hey,
it's not like a direct
like this exact thing. We're making that again, or like, oh, hey, you used to like games of this ilk. We're now making what's the one that we didn't like? Super Lucky. No, we like.
I was going to say, how dare you?
What's the one we didn't like?
It's
Hat in Time. It's not like that where it's like, hey, this is just the thing you like. It's like, oh, okay, what more do you have to offer? And it's like nothing. This seems to be like better than that. So yeah, I'm interested in this. We'll see what happens.
Yep, we will see what happens. The next one, The Long Dark. It's a survival game that I got the impression from it that either could be quite good or not good at all. From the trailer,
not good at all. I played on Xbox. And
okay, gotcha.
I just like okay. All I know about this game is I was cold, so I lit a fire. I laid down next to the fire to go to sleep because I'm cold and tired. I just wake up in the middle of the night on fire and I die. I'm like, oh, this is rubbish. Turn it off.
I feel like survival games can be really hit or miss like that for sure. So.
Yeah, very, very miss.
Very miss.
The Long Dark. So there's that. I guess I'm not going to play it. PGA Tour 2K21.
We've done it, man. Skip it.
We did it.
Well, hang on, course designer. Hang on a minute.
Sniper Elite 4. I don't care at all.
But no, I never played a Sniper Elite game. They all seem like the same kind of thing. It's just shooting the nads. Watch the nads blow up. Shoot him in the head. Watch the head blow up. Cool. Yep. Then again, like what? Do it again. Do it more than once. What?
Do it a fourth time.
Hopefully, it's cool for the people that like it. But okay, now we're getting into. So those ones were all kind of like they were there. Some of them were decent, and now we're getting into some of the cooler ones. Empire of Sin. The first time I saw this trailer, I was like, I don't care at all about this. And then this time that I saw the trailer, I was like, I don't think I care at all about this. And then I went back and watched the trailer, and I think I care a little bit about this. I don't know that I don't have
I
an
know what it
affinity
is.
towards.
It's the
Isn't that was
sin
like
part.
years
It's
ago?
the sin part. You like games with sin in the
Oh,
name.
that's the one. No,
I
it's
get it.
it looks like
Punishment.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the only ones I can think of too.
Yeah.
The Yeah, so I don't really care necessarily about the 20s aesthetic. Maybe it'll be cool for some people. I think that's what they like about it. But no, it looks like it's kind of like a strategy RPG sort of thing.
Kind of like a gangster XCOM kind of thing, right?
Yes, exactly,
Yeah.
something like that. So I don't know what like plot wise, what I don't know. We'll have to see. Not even necessarily plot wise, but like what it's like outside of combat, what that means or whatever. Because if it's just like combat to combat, like combat and then some cutscene, that's not worth it to me. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Seems like
Thin Star.
You got
right?
it.
Yeah,
sure.
Sing Star.
Oh,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Sing Star. Okay, cool.
When you just said Sin Star, I was like, that could be a game, I guess.
That's
I don't know. But yeah, that's Empire Sin. Hades, we knew about this.
Yeah, we did. This is a game that I really liked on when it was first announced on PC. I like the look of it. Something like you, Parker, I really liked these games I can't remember the names of.
Bastion, Transistor. I haven't played Transistor yet. I've only played Bastion.
Oh, okay. Transistor's really good as well. This to me looked like just the next iteration of that. So I didn't buy it on PC because it was sort of early access like thing. And I was like, hey, I'll get it when it launches. Now it's launching on a console I like and own. Yay! So I'll probably pick this up when I don't have such an oppressive backlog of things I already need to play. But like this just looks. Don't you think this looks like perfect? It just looks really good.
Yeah, it does look good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know my friend Mitch is picking it up, and so I'm gonna have him tell me what he thinks as well, and you will tell me what you think.
I know Ian typed.
That said, they also put Bastion and Transistor on sale so often that I feel like it's just a matter of time until this.
Yeah, that's
goes on
true.
Sale too.
I think this has the benefit of being a brand new game,
Yes,
like literally launching. It launched yesterday with the Switch version, as opposed to Bastion, which I think 2009, 2010.
Yeah. Oh, is it really? Wow.
Yeah, Bastion was like an old game. Yeah.
Man alive. So there's that. Okay, the next two actually, never mind. Maybe I don't care that much about, but are big deals for some people. Disgaea 6, Defiance of Destiny.
Yeah, I mean, Disgaea just looks like an absolute mess. Like it looks like a strategy like XCOM kind of thing, if you know what I mean.
I think
it's just like a bajillion anime characters on like a grid, and like I don't know what's happening. I don't care. I've got the demo for like Disgaea
5.
What was the one? Was that the one that was around?
That's the one that I got too. Yep.
Yeah,
same exact thing.
What's going on there?
I got so lost so fast. There was just too much happening, and I was like, I don't think I can do this, y'all.
Yeah.
It felt like kind of within the Fire Emblem-y sort of gameplay, except for, it was just too many options and too much stuff going on. Like every single time something would happen in the tutorial battle, they would teach you a new thing. Yeah. Instead of letting you like learn that thing, use that for a couple turns, learn the next thing. It was like, so that that last turn, how you did this one thing, like you blocked and he jumped on your face. Well, this time you can, and like every time it's something new, I was like, I don't even know.
Yeah, like he's just not like the story wasn't worth. I know there are some people that really like those sort of like over, the anime sort of stories, very Japanesey kind of thing. But like, I felt like I was trudging through story to then trudge through gameplay. And I was like, when does it get to the thing that I'm like, I want to play this? Instead of like forcing myself to get addicted to a loop, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So, I mean, that said, like, I can understand the people, I feel like the people that were in it from the beginning, it's like, this is exactly what they want. And that's perfect. Yeah. And I'm very happy for them. But coming in now feels like too little too late, to be honest. But cool. That is coming.
Oh, you've got that song in my head now.
Fitness Boxing 2.
Cool,
classic.
Dude.
That's classic.
I mean, it's just. When I saw the trailer for it, I was like, "Oh, this is obviously some DLC for Fitness Boxing," because I was like, the game's like just come out, so but like apparently it hasn't. Apparently it's like a year and a bit old.
Yeah, it was like beginning of 2019, I guess.
Yeah. So
yeah, it feels like more recent than that.
I mean, this isn't for me, but I can see how there might be people who enjoy it, especially with this whole like, I don't know if it's new, but like the whole rhythm bit they were talking about. I don't know if that's like a new addition to the game.
I feel like that was how the first one worked
okay.
as well, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
So it feels like why people like Beat Saber just on the Switch, you know,
Mm-hmm.
using the power of the Joy-Cons.
I feel like they're also definitely trying to tap into the newly found Ring Fit, you know, culture and like that craze and stuff. And this is one, it's like, you don't even have to buy a peripheral. You can just get it. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, there's really two big pieces of news that came out of all this. Everybody knows already.
Well, I mean, technically 3. You can split 2. You can.
It's true. Yes, 2. Yeah, one was a chunk and of 2, and the other is 1. So Ori and Will of the Wisps is one of those things. We knew that was coming personally, and that's fun that we knew that. Yes, but it's awesome that it's here.
It is, because it's one like like a couple of these games, I thought this just wasn't going to happen. Those are the games that we're about to talk about, because Ori and the Will of the Wisps, when I played it on PC, there were times that I was playing it and I was like, I can see how they're not putting this on Switch. I can see why it's not going to happen. It looks too good. There's too much going on. It stutters sometimes on, I'm playing it in 1080p on my PC, which is, a pretty powerful PC. So for it to stutter, I was like, clearly there's a reason this isn't going on Switch. But then to see or to hear, when we heard a couple of weeks ago that it was coming to Switch, and then to find out yesterday that it's running at 60 FPS, and it looks as good as it does, and that it's basically like another flawless port of Ori. Amazing, like fantastic, especially because everyone should play this game. This is like the best game of this year that I've played.
Is it longer than the first one?
Not by much, but yes.
Okay.
It feels like it feels a little bit. How do I describe it? So it feels like there's more game here than in the first game, but actually they're sort of fairly similar in length. It's just this one has more of like there's more things to collect. There's like little quests to do. There's actual combat. There's weapons to choose and things like that. Whereas the first game was just like a series of platforming sections stuck together. Not to its detriment. It was a great game.
Yeah, it was great.
I really enjoyed. Oh, you played that, didn't you, Brian Forrest?
I did.
Yeah. Are you going to get Will of the Wisps?
I will, not yet, just because I have a lot of other games to play.
Of course,
but yeah, I'll get it down the road at some point.
For sure. It's definitely going to be like, I think it's going to be heralded as one of those games that didn't get talked about as much as some of the games, like the big ones, like some of the big Sony games, the whole, rounding off the PS4 year with all these great games kind of conversation. But I think that when you look back at this year of games, it's one of those ones that, like, it's rare that a game launches to, like, well received, zero controversy, however I'm pronouncing that today. And it just was a good game. And hopefully it's remembered that way by people that play it on the Switch as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm down. I think I'll play it.
Nice.
Did you play Blind Forest, AJ?
I played Blind Forest on Xbox. I didn't play the Switch version.
Okay.
But I didn't play this on Xbox because when this came out, my Xbox was not plugged in, and it currently is not plugged in. So
I mean, it's interesting too. Like this is the first game that's come out from Microsoft since they had the whole, like, we're not doing any more games and stuff like that. And people took that at its word instead of being like, no, it's very, don't worry about it, y'all.
I don't understand it. I don't understand why people buy that stuff. And it's kind of like along the same lines with like what you guys are just talking about, like whether it would run or not. Like even the thing like where you were talking about, Max, where it's like you barely runs in your PC, and it's like, yeah, because it's not optimized for your PC.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it barely runs, but there are times where, like, I'm playing it and it'll like hiccup or skip or something like that. I'm like, this, the way that the first game was on Switch is that it was the best version of the game, and I was like, I don't think we're going to get this game because if the PC, granted, like you say, it's not optimized properly, but I just think that it's more intensive than the first game was.
It is funny because, like, as we go into this last bit of this, that us armchair developing or whatever it is that we tend to do is like, it's just funny how this works. Cause like my friend Mitch is kind of this way, where specifically he loves Monster Hunter, and now we're talking about Monster Hunter now. And I remember telling him like a year and a half ago or something that, like, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure, or maybe it was like before the Game Awards or something. And I was like trying to think of things that they could announce for the Switch. And I was like, I bet like Monster Hunter like a new Monster Hunter game. It was like Monster Hunter, but made for the Switch specifically. And he was like, no, I don't see it. Like, I just can't see it. And like, it's funny.
I said the exact same thing.
Yeah. Well, so, and I don't remember you saying that, but I feel like your reasons were a little bit more like, probably they would just do stories too instead, which they also did. And I think, yeah.
I did say that, didn't I? I did call this. I forgot that I did say that. Wow.
You did. Yeah. So we both together as a collective of
genius.
directly to you, we did
a handsome genius.
So, but it is funny because like, as I was so excited, like as we knew about the rumors coming up for Monster Hunter on Switch for this direct, I was like, hey Mitch, you should watch
this direct, dude.
Which I had not told him to watch the previous part in directs because I was like, they're
like whatever. Yeah.
But I was like, you should watch this when it airs, and he watched it. But it was funny how like that mindset that he had, even still, like it was almost in watching it, he was in disbelief. Like not disbelief, like, oh my goodness, I can't believe they're doing it, but more like disbelief, like, I don't know, is this really the next real Monster Hunter? And like, I don't know, is this really something? I was like, oh my goodness, you're making this so boring for me to enjoy you enjoying a thing. Like, I wanted to be excited with you, but instead I'll just be excited by myself. He is excited now, but like, still, yep.
Yeah, man. This looks good, man. This
Monster
looks
Hunter
like
Rise.
This looks like Monster Hunter Rise. This is like the opposite. So the original reason I remember giving you was that the success that they've seen with World, like the not just like it's as successful, like the huge, like it's their most successful game they've ever made in the whole of Capcom's history. So I was like, why would they waste time making another Switch only title when they've now realized after a generation of Nintendo only games that this works better elsewhere, Oh yeah. This works elsewhere. So even when the rumors were sort of like started to circle, last week when the sale came on, I was like, nah. And then when the actual like the Rise thing like was actually rumored and it was like leaked almost, where it was just like, it's going to be this, you're going to be able to jump, and I was like, nah, this isn't going to happen. And then like when the partner direct started, and the first thing, I wasn't going to watch it because how I felt about the last couple. I think Imran Khan,
you loved them too much, you couldn't stand it.
Exactly. He just tweeted Monster Hunter Yay, and I was like, fine. So I tuned in. I was like, oh my god, like this is everything. It looks like World, but with fun things that are new, and with dogs that you can ride on, but also more monster variety and new additions, and like it's all the bits I liked from Worlds and all the bits I liked from things like For You and Generations, all the fun monster stuff, just sort of crammed together with like this new stuff. So I'm like there for this, like 100%.
I'll check it out. Ian hit me up and was like, yo, you want to play Monster Hunter? And I was like, sure. I usually do not care about Monster Hunter, but I also usually don't have people to play it with, so maybe this will make me a Monster Hunter fan. Who knows?
Here's a question, Max, too. Like, hello.
No, go on.
So the way I'm envisioning this game happening is I get it. I learn to like the gameplay. And I play it with Mitch some, with you guys some, maybe. And then Mitch, for example, especially, and you probably as well, just like way outclass me really fast, and then that kind of thing.
No.
Okay. But like, so not even asking about that, but if that were to happen, if suddenly it was like, oh, I don't actually have any friends that I'm going to play with without them having to like be like, yeah, I'll help you with that little dinky monster, you crazy little guy. Without that happening, is it still like, what are your thoughts on just playing solo? Like nobody else, just by myself.
You can absolutely. So I played 3U, in the UK, completely solo, and I had a blast. I finished the whole story. Didn't then push on to like the G rank stuff because I was like, I'll play on my own. But when I played 4U, I played a lot of that in multiplayer, but also then did loads of stuff on my own, played for a lot of stuff. However, where it came to like things that I was struggling with on my own, the matchmaking, 4 games that are on Nintendo consoles is surprisingly good. You say, I'm trying to fight this, I want to do this, come join me. And people will just come in and join you and fight with you. Whether that be someone that's massively high leveled comes in and carries you because they need like a piece for their weapon, fine. It just gets you through the first time you kill it and then you'll get better, blah, blah, blah. However, for me, if you were to be like, or Mitch, you were like, guys, I need help with this monster, I would just swap to gear that is that sort of level.
Right. Yeah.
Come in, because otherwise it's just not fun for me as a player to just come in and just be like, dink donk, there you go, enjoy yourself. It's more of the the whole fun of Monster Hunter is the fighting the monster and overcoming it and learning it, and that's something that I think World did very well.
Yeah. So you can level. I mean, that's true because your gear is your level pretty much. So you can just level down as long as you keep lower level gear.
Or even just sort of like craft, just be like, oh, you're fighting this? Cool. Let me just go and craft a high rank set. Because I'm, let's say I'm in G rank. I'll just go and craft a high rank set. Whether this game even has G rank, because I didn't even consider that. But this is the first. So World came out. World didn't have G rank. It had like the game ended. And then it had like the post-game content, and then they added G rank with Iceborne, which was called Master Rank. The ultimate version of the game, so Generations Ultimate has G rank, 4U has G rank, whereas 4 in Japan didn't. But I've just realised that this is the first entry, this is the first rise. So whether this has a Master Rank or a G rank, is to be seen. God, I hope it does. But yeah, so like, I could just like be.
I would imagine it comes as DLC, probably.
That's the way I'd like it to be. Yeah, similar to how Iceborne is.
I can't really imagine. I mean, that would be like the whole, doing a Pokemon Gun sort of a thing. Like, no, it's just way better to just. You'll get way more people actually in the door by doing, Rise just the DLC.
Yeah, although I mean, Japan did get Generations Ultimate, which is on the 3DS as well.
Yeah.
So I think even if you play it on your own, and we like surpass you because I play it with my friends, or I put 100 hours in on my own or whatever, you'll still be able to have fun with other people.
Nice.
Because it's going to be quite easy for me then to, because of how the game works, you only need to complete certain quests in a rank to be into the next rank. So even if I was just or a couple of us were just to carry you, literally come in with the fights, do all the key fights with you, get you into the right place where you can get the good gear, then you can just go back and do that content on your own.
Yeah.
And then you're with us, easy.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. Oh, it does say, actually, I just noticed, additionally, the Deluxe Edition will be available, which offers the full game and bonus DLC. Oh, no, I guess that's
the bonus
DLC
is like the skins. Yeah,
right, that's not like, never mind. But yeah. AJ, what are your thoughts of this and stories too? And I don't know, any of that. We've been dominating
Monster Hunter. I think Monster Hunter story. Also, I was ordering food, so it was like,
there you go.
You guys talk. But Monster Hunter stories.
What did you order?
I ordered Chinese food, dude, and I ordered Rita's. Man, it's gonna be freaking lit. Rita's is like,
okay.
But yeah, no, I think out of either one of these games that I would just on my own be interested in, it would probably be stories. Like I said, Ian said he wanted to play Monster Hunter, so I'll probably also get Rise. I don't know. We might be able to just hit up Capcom and get the game, at least for Rise, and then do like content. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
content.
I know just.
I will buy my copy, and then we can all content together.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably Capcom too.
And stories is just, it's kind of like a Pokemon-esque, right?
Yeah.
It's like turn-based RPG, monster collection. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm honestly like, I think Mitch, when I was talking to him, was not into that. And I'm into it. Like, it looks cool.
The first stories didn't jump out to me very much. But this one seems to do so more so because it looks nicer. It looks more. I don't want to say more mature because it's still like.
I mean, it's not chibi. Like I think the problem with it's because it still looks like anime and or whatever, like cell shaded, that kind of thing. But definitely the 3DS in general, just a lot of the games that tried to do that just ended up having to have more chibi, just body ratios and things like that. And I know you can't hear me right now, Max, because you took off your headphones. But there you go, you did it.
Hello, sorry.
Yeah, but like I feel like those games were just kind of more chibi in general, which is like not an aesthetic I super love. And so this definitely was right off the bat was way more appealing to me because like it's a very similar aesthetic, but it's just enough different that it feels like
using the power of the Switch to be better.
I
think like you said about it being like a Pokemon collection thing, I think from what I gathered that because there are like fewer monsters to collect, I actually think you have more of like a story bond with the monsters as opposed to Pokemon where you just sort of like catch them and raise them and you have that actual like leveling bond. Because I think the story shows that, doesn't it, with the Rathalos. I think it's a Rathalos in the trailer. So
I I definitely, yeah, because I don't know that I care about like really collecting monsters in anything that's not Pokemon. Just because it's like I've got Pokemon for that, you know, like that's what that's for. Like playing Ni no Kuni, for example, which by the way, I played like 3 more hours of Ni no Kuni this week, so I'm actually still playing. I'm working on it. I didn't because like I have had such an up and down with it where like I was like I'm just gonna wait till I'm done, but it came up in context. So here we go. But in that game, like oh, and by the way, Max, I just got to a part where like suddenly all of them can evolve to their final stage, and I knew you told me like don't evolve them at the same time, and I was like, I think I staggered it enough. I did not stagger it enough.
I did.
My
I did
like
actually,
main heavy hitter, I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna level them up. Mistakes.
What's the point of me warning you about this stuff, man? If you're just gonna
I thought it was good, but it wasn't good. But all that to say, like in that game, I pretty much just am not collecting. I got like my main team, and then I'm like, I'm good. I don't feel like collecting more, leveling them up, just because I don't have the same affinity and care for these characters. But so same thing with this. I feel like it'll just be fun to play the game and like collect the ones that seem cool, but like I don't know that I'm gonna really care about. Like,
Ni no Kuni makes it almost impossible for you to form a bond with the familiars because you are forming a bond with the characters, and they don't have any bond with the familiars. They are just like, it's like, imagine if like the avatar character you're playing in Pokemon was like a Shulk type character, where he had like a story, he had character, you know, voice, he had all these like things, you know, he had mystery behind him, and you were really invested in Shulk, and then he had all these Pokemon to collect. You wouldn't care about the Pokemon, you care about Shulk. And I think Ni no Kuni did that, and I think that this game sort of makes the connection between the two,
bridges the two
story. Yeah, so that I think
makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, Monster Hunter Rise, man, it's coming out March 26th, 2021, same day as whatever that other one was we said. I think
Fitness Boxing was that one?
Balan Wonderworld, and is also Fitness Boxing?
Yeah.
Oh.
Fitness. I don't know Fitness Boxing. Hold on.
No, Fitness Boxing is.
But it is the Balan.
Sorry, Balan, yeah. There was something else. There was definitely something else. That was
I don't see it in here, but that's not to say that it
from this stream. There was
gotcha.
It was announced.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do we think might be happening that day that would coincide with Monster Hunter coming out that has never happened on any other console before? Just kidding. It seems like a good, solid guess of a day for Switch iteration to come out.
I agree.
That's fun.
I agree because I mean the whole thing of like when I played For You, the new 3DS had just come out and it had the nub, and the nub was sort of like key to playing the game, and the game ran like 60 frames per second on the new 3DS, as far as I know. And it was just, you know, it was better to play on that new 3DS. It used the little trigger buttons. It took advantage of the new hardware. So I'm wondering, because I had a friend of mine that watched the Rise trailer and was like, I'm amazed that this is running on the Switch. You know, there's no way. If you'd told me this was like the next world and it was running on the PS4, I would have believed you. And I said, I don't know about that. But he said, like, I think this is going to probably run like trash. But then I thought, well, hang on, what about if this is actually going to come out on the Switch Pro and we're going to be able to play it in 60 frames per second on the Switch Pro, and it's going to have that boost that the PS4 Pro or the Xbox One X has. And then, like you say, now all these things will come out about dates and stuff. It kind of starts to make a bit more sense, yeah?
Yeah. I definitely, I feel like there's a strong case for it comes out on both, and on it's like probably has like a performance versus whatever mode to actually no, it probably can't do that because of the online stuff. I bet it kind of has to be locked to, I mean, not like has to be, but I don't know.
I don't know about that.
Maybe
I don't know about that because online doesn't really work like that in that way, right? Where at least unless they program it to be so dependent on whatever your FPS is, which would be strange, you know? So I don't know. They could do the performance versus like visual mode or whatever, you know? So
yeah,
who knows?
I'm excited. Overall, just last bits on this partner direct. There's going to be more apparently coming this year. Maybe just one more, maybe more than that. How did you guys feel about this one compared to the other ones? I
mean, even though I think that this one was definitely the best one for the people that it mattered to, I equally didn't care about this as much as the other ones. Like, I didn't even watch it until way after the fact, where I was like, we're going to talk about this on the podcast, so I guess I watched this. But I just didn't care.
I think it was definitely the best of the three, but I think it was definitely held up by the three key announcements. Well, the ones that I say were the key announcements.
Yeah,
Was
fitness boxing.
Battle no one.
PGA 2K21.
It was the Monster Hunter, the Ori, and the Hades.
Right.
However, two of those announcements, Ori was supposed to be supposedly supposed to be in the Indie Direct, and Hades was sort of announced in that Indie Direct.
Right. Just didn't shadow drop that day.
So really, like, if things worked out how they probably were supposed to have worked out, this would have led with Monster Hunter. But even then, there was a whole direct about Monster Hunter that could have been like its own separate thing. So this could have just been, none of that interesting stuff. But I think, those one and two big announcements, I think for me personally, were big enough to have made this like a good direct.
What an interesting, just the way that you said that made me think of the fact that, like, no other year do I think that we would have we been like, oh, Nintendo announced this and this and here, but they could have grabbed that from this and done this over here and switched. You know what I mean? Like, what a weird thing. I mean, it's like, because normally we just have like a more or less quarterly direct, and it's like, that's just the time they're going to do it. But then now it's like Twitter drops plus these every once in a while and stuff. So like, I think they are, to be perfectly honest, like, even though it's sucked at some weird points where it's like, okay, like the first partner direct, like, okay, that was just really bad. Like Shin Megami Tensei, that's awesome that it's in, like, the individual things, cool and stuff, but like, it felt like it sucked. I do feel like they kind of did all the things they had to do and just like stuck it out. And then now things are kind of just working out fine. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about a lot of
They've
this.
just got more to announce.
I just felt like this the whole time. I just felt like, because we're in a pandemic, period.
Wait a minute.
Period. Like, that, I was just like, I don't really care if they don't announce anything for the rest of the year. They're adamant that they will, so whatever, like, I'm not like pressed about it. Like, what happens. And the fact that this happened and came out and people are like, this is the best direct, we got the Mario thing, and like, to your point where you were talking about before, people are going to receive it better because we know what the rest of the year is, or because we think we know what the rest of the year is, and it's like satisfactory, it's like, okay, this is a good direct. But like, I still feel the same way about this announcement that I would have if we didn't have Mario. I'm still indifferent to it, but I know that people like it. And it was the same thing with Shin Megami. I know Shin Megami Tensei is like something that people were so freaking hype about, but because of the Mario thing and all that stuff, it's like, oh, bad direct. Like,
it's tricky. Like, I think just like my empathy bone is just generally kind of high or whatever. I end up talking more often on behalf of like people as a whole than I do for myself. Cause like, I also pretty much like, I would have loved to have new things to play, but I have such a backlog anyway that it's like, cool, I'd be fine. But
I can see that that's how you usually judge it. Yeah. But I just think that thought process that other people do, not that you're doing it for other people, but what other people think is inconsistent, because this is the same exact format, like, as far as like the importance of things that got announced. We got like a Monster Hunter thing that's coming out two Monster Hunter things that are both coming out next year, right? They're both next year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Two Monster Hunter things that are coming out next year. One's like the big thing. It's like, oh, cool. And then the other one's like, I mean, this is fine.
Monster Hunter PGA Tour 2K21.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the case for Shin Megami Tensei fans. We got a thing that's like, oh, okay, cool. We got this remaster thing that's coming to Switch. And then, oh, okay, cool. We got the new game that we've been waiting for forever that's also coming to Switch. Right. But somehow that direct was like terrible. Like, it was a bad direct.
I think it was also because it felt like that.
It was because we didn't know the rest of the year.
Because we didn't know the rest, and it was the first one of that kind. Yeah, so it was doomed. It was doomed from the start. You know what I mean? As far as like people's perception.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think people judge these directs based on what they are. They judge them on what they want them to be, and I think that's a bad way to judge literally anything. I think that's how
so many. But I think that's like so much of everything in our lives.
Yeah,
is just
and
expectations.
That's bad.
I mean, you're not wrong. Like, if you don't want to be disappointed in things in general, like, change the way you expect things. That's
And I'm not even saying like to keep your expectations at rock bottom or anything like that. But like, it's one thing to have high or low expectations, and another thing to be mad that something that is not what you wished it was in your head. Almost like what people accuse us for preemptively when we make our videos, where it's like, if they don't do this, you're going to be mad about it. It's like, no, because that doesn't make any sense. Why get mad at something that I made up not happening?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You guys are a bunch of fanboys still. Don't forget.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah, dude.
So true.
Yeah,
But we such fanboys that we make videos on YouTube
Yep.
and we talk about
Before you
comments from those
start-
videos.
We
before
talk
you
about
start-
more stuff that's not
Before I
going to
start.
happen.
Yeah.
Before you start,
Uh-huh.
why, when you knew about sort of what these topics were going to be, did you plan 4 pages of questions?
What are you talking about, dude? We didn't plan anything.
I don't know, man. People just ask the questions.
People asked us
That's
questions.
how it comes up.
We said, you know what? Hey, what are you
There you
going to do?
What are you
know
gonna do?
what I mean?
Good
You can
question.
answer some comments. AJ, you made a video about Mario spin-offs and ranking them,
Uh-huh.
and then people gave comments on them.
Yep.
You want to get into these comments?
Yep.
Let's do it.
Also, in that video, I floated the idea that I might rank the Mario suits. I don't know if I want to do that this week. I have a different idea. I might do this next week. So if you really want it, let me know in the comments of that video and also this one. But yeah, that's what the first like batch of these comments is just people being like, I want this suit. And then it like widens out.
Nice.
And you
So-
commented your suit, but you're here. So I didn't pull that one.
You're not wrong. So Kushal Koneni says the cloud power-up or the cat suit.
The cloud power up from
Cloud-
Mario Galaxy.
From Galaxy.
Was that cat
1
suit
and 2 or
cat
just
suit is like curry? What are we talking about?
cat
Cat
suit?
suit. Okay.
The cloud power-up is dope. I
It
enjoy
is
that
dope.
one.
I like the power ups in the Galaxy. The
Mhm.
Galaxy power ups are dope.
There were a couple that I kind of felt like in Galaxy 2 specifically, because again,
I don't like the fire flower, and
oh man,
it's so stupid. But
maybe it'll be better
the
without
like
Waggle
original
controls.
ones are dope. No, I just don't like.
Oh,
it
just
that
the
it's
fire flower.
timed.
Period. Okay.
Yeah, like it's stupid. I hate that.
I did have the one boss in Galaxy 2 with the sand boss where you have to shoot fireballs in his mouth or whatever.
Mhm.
Was the most painful thing to do waggle controls for. So Max, long story short, there's you got to shoot fireballs pretty much, and waggle controls do the shooting of the fireball, and it is not consistent. There were so many times that I'd waggle it, and he'd be like, I don't know about that, and then I'd stop and he'd be like, okay, and I didn't.
Hang on, what game are we talking about here?
Galaxy
Talking
2.
about Mario Galaxy 2.
Right. Okay. Good. I was like, this isn't like Odyssey, but you're okay. Good. Okay.
Next comment, Duncan Ketchison, hello Duncan, said favorite power-up is easily the original version of the Tanuki suit, changing into whatever the heck that statue was.
Yeah, man. It was a Tanuki.
There you go.
It's cool.
Wait, was that was in Land, right?
No. Wasn't it in 3?
Well,
Wasn't
so the changing into the statue, because the Tanuki suit with the tail, that's in 3.
Thingy. Yeah.
But changing into the statue was, I think, in Land.
It
or
might have been
too.
Land. It might have been Land. I don't know. I just know what he's talking about.
Yeah. Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh, what are you doing in here? Said,
Yo, he's
cat
a
suit-
celebrity.
Said cat suit / cape gang.
Yo,
I'm down with the cape.
I'm surprised that Sonic the Hedgehog likes the cat suit.
I know.
I'm shocked. The cape
Everett
makes
Quarter.
sense. No, matter of fact, I'm less surprised about the cape because that's post Alliance. He's supposed to be Mario's bitter rival when
That's
the cape
true.
was a thing. So
That's
you're
very
a traitor.
accurate. Everett Quarter says Boomerang is the best Mario. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Pat Green, Hammer Suit. It's not like useful, but in SMB 3, it was so rare and looked so cool.
Yo.
Was
I'm
the
down with that.
question? Was the question? What's your favorite power up in a Mario game?
Yeah, I was gonna.
Okay.
I talked about how I want to make a video ranking them because I ranked the main Mario games. I ranked the spin-offs. The other thing to rank in Mario is the
Mhm.
power-ups.
Yeah. We love to rank.
Yeah,
Me too.
man.
And then now getting into the more qualitative ones, I suppose.
Yeah.
F-Zero Kid, Falcon. My favorite power-up is probably the red star from Super Mario Galaxy. Grants Mario the ability to fly, not glide, not fall with style, but actually fly. It was only used for one mission on the Comet Observatory and hasn't been seen since 2007. Either that or the Fire Flower, particularly the one from Super Mario World. Could turn enemies into coins and was fun spamming the spin jump with it, as it allowed you to throw multiple fireballs at once.
Yeah,
It's
man.
it's funny that you should bring up Full with Star after we spoke about Toy Story earlier.
You're so right.
I am right. I know.
It's true, dude. The Fire Flower is probably that's S tier. Spoilers. It's S tier. But you know what? No, I changed my mind. It's A tier. I'm putting it in an A tier just because Mario Galaxy 2. It's stupid in Mario Galaxy 2.
It's true.
Spoilers.
The last comment, this is from Mega Man, says Super Mario Land and Super Mario Land 2, along with Super Mario Land 3 with Wario, were some of my great childhood memories of playing Mario on the Game Boy. I loved and smashed those games other than playing Pokemon, and used to fight my brother to play it all the time.
Man, Mega Man liked all the bad games when he was a kid. No, I'm joking. Mario Land 2 is good.
Man alive.
Wow, man.
And there it is.
There it is.
There it is. Those things. All right, now we got comments for my video. We talked. What did I talk about? Oh, the Switch.
What did I talk about?
The Switch outselling the Wii, and how it's definitely going to happen, unless just really weird things happen.
Unless we have an anti-pandemic where everybody cannot be in their house and somehow.
I mean, even then, the Switch is like the best console.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So
anti-pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be down for an anti-pandemic.
Isn't that just certain parts of the US where they're just like?
Yes, you're not.
No, I mean that we can't be inside.
Oh, okay. You mean the gas leak pandemic, which is technically a pandemic still, but yeah.
Yeah.
Continue with the actual content of the.
So yeah, here's some comments. You guys had thoughts on whether or not the Switch would outsell the Wii. And
I don't know about that.
Wii U? No, I doubt that one, man. Mad.
That's impossible.
What did I had a thought recently that had something to do with the Wii U and its sales and how, I don't know. It is crazy that there's some holiday seasons that single consoles have sold almost as much in one holiday than the Wii U did in its entire lifespan.
The Switch has sold close to 10 million.
I think it was more than 10 million. 10 million.
20 million.
The last one, it was like 10 point something. Pretty sure. Could be wrong. But here we go. Francisco Hurtado said, as a huge Nintendo fan, I've wondered what would happen if they turned into a software development company, and the thought of having Zelda, Mario, and Metroid games running on a PS5 actually sounds amazing. Can you imagine a Zelda dungeon that looks as good as the Demon's Souls remake on PS5? I would love to just have one console and a PC instead.
I would hate that. I would be very disinterested in everything that they made because most games that they make are like developed around their hardware, and it could be interesting on one level because they definitely get the most out of their hardware visually than any other like game developer, period. But that would be the only thing that's
Switch, right? You don't mean like the Nintendo
gets more
out of the
Luigi's
Switch than
Mansion
Sony does
3
out of
is-
the PS.
I mean like Nintendo with the hardware capabilities that they have relative to what developers had in comparable consoles. So Wii U games look significantly better than PlayStation 3 games of the same like that Nintendo made anyway. Like Pikmin 3 looks better than Little Big Planet 3 or whatever. Or 2, whichever one came out on PlayStation 3. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like, and on that end, if they still applied that same thought process to like, okay, let's make the best looking game that will age the best on PlayStation 5, that'd be neat. But the games would be boring in comparison to play.
I think, that was my thought about this. And like, I think it would be interesting to see what would happen with that. But I think it's one of those things too, where like the gimmicks aren't always great in their consoles, but they also can be, and like they can be really inventive because of the hardware that they come up with. You know, like Mario 64 and all that. Like for as much grief as it got given earlier, like that game only exists because there was a joystick and that kind of stuff. So in terms of like innovating, there's definitely that side of it. But then also fact that,
I would say more often than not, even in the case of Mario 64, literally every game that they've made on their like consoles, Virtual Boy, I'm not really counting in this. The games that they made centered around their gimmicks have been great. The Wii U, people might have not loved the gimmick, but the games that they made for the gimmick are good games. Yeah. And they lose that.
Apart from Star Fox Zero.
I'd even say that's a good game, but it's not a good Star Fox game, which I'd say I don't care. I don't need a good Star Fox game in freaking 2020, and I didn't even need it in 2015. Like, give me something different.
I think the thing too is like game, like we talked about before, like Breath of the Wild or whatever, like art design rather than, or art direction or whatever, rather than just like good graphics is just, to me, is preferable. Which, like, I also realize that I kind of feel like I like probably tell myself that a little bit too, because like, you know, it's just then otherwise I'd just be disappointed all the time. If like all I cared about was actual like graphics, then it's like, oh, but there's like better looking games on other stuff.
Well, as somebody that has access to all the other stuff,
Yeah.
I still feel that way.
Yeah,
like
right.
I'm very nonplussed every time I see like even PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. I'm like, whatever. You know, it's just a shinier version of this gen. Cool. You know, show me the games. How are the games going to feel better to play? I don't care about what they look like, because I'm going to look at it once, say this looks great, and then never think about that again.
I think,
like,
but the thing with that, is that, and like, it would be great to have like a Zelda game that looked like spectacular in terms of like, you know, whatever, like realistic and all that stuff. But then it's really diminishing returns past that, as opposed to like, you can take different directions with like different art styles.
Right.
And that, you know, works out
it's
well.
the whole thing about like limitations breeding innovation and all that.
Whereas Metroid is one that I feel like would benefit from just like stronger hardware, because that's more grounded
a little bit
in
of shiny polish kind of
thing. Like I feel like that
Metroid's
is
not
one
very
that would...
stylized. Well, Metroid Prime specifically isn't very stylized.
Yeah.
It sort of like cements itself as like a real game looking game, you know. And then they tried to go other directions with like other M and things like that. But I think the Prime series is very much rooted in like, this is a shiny game.
Yeah.
Even with that in mind, I wouldn't want to throw out everything else for that game.
No,
No, right. Oh, of course not. Yeah. That would be an outlier for sure.
I think the leap in logic here that I guess I think of a lot of people say this is, you're expecting that if you were to give Nintendo a PS5 dev kit and be like, you can make games for this, suddenly they'd be like, thank God. Son, finally we can make these like
finally we have access to power.
Yeah. Like if Nintendo wanted to make games that look like that, they would just make their hardware. Nintendo aren't being held back by their own hardware. Nintendo have chosen that hardware,
right?
Because of the games that they want to make, right?
Yeah, they're not making. You know, they're not going to get a PS5 and then suddenly make all of those Unreal Engine 4 Ocarina of Time remakes. You know, because Nintendo don't want to make those games.
Nintendo currently is worth more than Sony.
Yeah,
and they have significantly more money to play with than Sony does, because they just got like freaking $12 billion just sitting there that they can spend. If they wanted to become a graphical powerhouse company, they could do that, but they choose not to because they don't care about that.
Yeah. And also, like, you know, they're like Parker says, they're one IP that would really benefit from that is Metroid, because
which also happens to not sell very well.
Yeah, exactly. You see Mario, you see you know how Luigi's Mansion looks, and that's running on the Switch, and you see how Mario Odyssey looked, and that's running on the Switch. So why push for further than that when you know, when Ratchet and Clank, which is the bit closest I can think to of being like what a cartoon game can benefit from the power, looks fine, looks shiny, but does not. You know, Mario wouldn't look like Mario if it was in that world and he was shiny and he had realistic fur and stuff. Fur.
I mean,
fur with the Tanuki
I think
suit.
like they want to have games that kind of like, you know, last through time and stuff. Like, I mean, obviously the 3D All-Stars and all that. The fact that they're re-releasing those now the way that they looked exactly back then means, you know, they're like, yeah, that's the way we still want it to have looked.
Yeah, they really don't.
And if they went for graphics instead, like, thinking of Monster Hunter as an example, this game, if you showed this exact Monster Hunter game, especially to somebody like in the PS3 or like early PS4 generation, they'd be like, this looks incredible. I can't believe, you know, freaking amazing and stuff. Now. But like, I pulled up my chat with Mitch and he was like, yeah, the graphics are kind of a bummer, but blah, 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 blah and stuff. And it's funny because it's like, how short do those things get to last? You know, like things looking good, or because like it does look good. There's some the fact I think that game specifically has in the screenshots we saw like, a lot of like rock textures and stuff like that. Those are ones that are like hard to do well, and they don't look amazing. Like they look okay, but they're not.
The Switch has a single nice rock texture.
Yeah, I honestly like Breath of the Wild
Pokemon
is
Breath
the
of the Wild. It's
close.
all the same. It's all just like they make the texture small, they stretch it big, and they're like, that will do.
Yeah.
But
So
I mean,
that's
even when you zoom in on like things like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order on the PC, you're like, yeah, that's a rock texture.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I've
So like
seen
that, but that's if you just can't have games that last past generations if they are trying to go too graphically intense or whatever.
Also, I don't want to spend too much longer time on this, but I do want to say that like if people seem to be convinced that Nintendo will make way more money if they were just a software developer, but I think that is like,
oh, definitely,
it's in the forest for the trees, because like it's like, yeah, sure, they might have a little bit bigger number of like software sold, but you're forgetting the fact that they also make money on their
other people's
hardware
software right now.
Yeah, and other people's software. So it's like people are, rather than saying, okay, if I can play freaking Zelda and Mario and Pokemon and Smash Brothers on my PlayStation, that'd be dope. Awesome. But they're getting $90 from you in that. Or, like they're getting $180 from you in that scenario, right? Whereas with Switch, they're getting at least $420 from you. Like that whole thing, on top of the fact of like licensing fees and all that other crap. Like the only people that it would kind of benefit in the long run are people that want the same cookie cutter, like every game to be Metroid or like Halo or like shooty bang bang games that look pretty. Like those are the only people that would benefit from that scenario. But everybody else, I think it would be less interesting, and the industry would be less interesting overall.
Yeah. The reason that Sony and Microsoft sell their consoles at a loss is because there is so much money in licensing. So I don't think Nintendo is going to want to, where they're claiming, their exclusives are selling more than anyone other exclusives on the market. They're taking pretty much the full whack of that money. Whereas if they went to like Sony and they and Xbox, for example, and they sold like some more, maybe not like double more, but some more, they'd be giving away how much percent of that to the publishers.
Yeah, it's like, do we want to sell 22 million units of Animal Crossing and 22 million Switches, or do we want to sell 35 million units of Animal Crossing and have no console to speak
right.
of? Like,
because one Switch is then like 6 or 7 games on average.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just bad logic.
Yeah.
Indeed. But in any case, it would be an interesting alternate dimension to venture into if you've got a portal of some sort. But I'm glad that it's not the one that we're in.
Join us.
Moving along. And we'll go through these kind of fast because we also have Q&A questions and stuff like that. But Chronically Cal said, great video. One thing I find interesting is how much these conversations separate the Switch from the legacy of the Wii. Of course, things have changed, particularly their approach to advertising and game design around gimmicks, but the harsh division seems off. I always think of the Switch as a spiritual successor in some respects of the Wii, DS, and Wii U, though I also find it interesting to think of the Wii U as an attempt to combine elements of the Wii and DS. I don't know. I'm too tired to truly put my thoughts into words. I just think the instinct to treat Switch-era Nintendo as though they turned their back on the Wii era is somewhat inaccurate. Things like Ring Fit, Labo, and 1-2-Switch, along with their continued use of sometimes optional motion controls in mainline games, are unambiguously products stemming from the Wii era. The idea that they learned the wrong lesson from the Wii era holds some merit for sure, but they learned other lessons that continue to affect their approach to game design, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't know where AJ went, but he's gone for a second.
Oh, is AJ gone? I was reading the comment as you said it. Probably right. Yeah, I agree with some of the stuff. Like I think that the Wii U as a combination of the Wii and the DS, I definitely agree with. I always thought that was like, all this extra real estate that the DS got, and the games that used that in interesting ways, and the Wii U did the same thing. But yeah, like, we're definitely seeing like we even heard this week when they had like a management meeting, and they were saying, our business model is always, combine software and hardware in a way that the two synergize and work together. And AJ said BRB, by the way.
Hello, you're back.
Oh, AJ's back. Hey, man. And I forgot what I was saying now. And it's interesting to see that the Switch is doing that, because the Switch hardware is intrinsically more interesting and more malleable and more what's what I'm looking for? Not interesting in a way, but you can do more things with it.
Versatile.
Versatile, that's the one.
Yeah.
So like that's why Nintendo's probably returning to that.
Yeah. I think the thing for me, I thought this was great and well-worded comment and everything. I think the thing to me that stands out as being different from the Wii and Switch era, hopefully, is that the Wii era, I think they noticed casuals and then chased casuals, like first and foremost.
Yeah.
At one point, like it kind of switched to that where like at the beginning they were like, we're just going to do both. We'll, whatever. And then at some point they pivoted towards that. Whereas now I think they've learned the lesson that like, that's an audience that definitely exists and we want to get those people in, but we're going to make some consistent tentpole releases for them, but then mostly kind of as an underlying thing cater to the core audience that's already there and that kind of thing.
I think the thing about Wii that a lot of people get wrong is that Wii was never in the beginning marketed directly at casuals. They weren't like, hey grandma, buy this. They were like, hey grandkid, your grandma might even like this, like they were still speaking to the audience that that we want them to speak to now. They just eventually were like, okay, well, we got grandma, let's start marketing at her. And that never is really going to help anybody. Yeah. So I think that that's really the only thing that changed is that they were like, oh no, the beginning of the Wii era worked. Let's maintain that rather than to like try to pivot and say, we got this new audience, let's speak to them, because they're not going to listen. Don't talk to them, talk under them, and then it'll get brought up,
Yep. So I think, I'm totally with you, Chronically Cal, on most of this stuff. And so, I do hope that they learn the right lessons and stuff like that, which so far, I mean, it does seem like, because like you said too, Max, like the things that they're doing are echoing some of the stuff back then, but it's not necessarily like that's all that they're doing, which is cool. Moving along, Everett Quarter, who also we pulled a comment from on your video. So Everett, look at that. Hey, what's up? Said, we need some Mario Kart 9. I also can't wait till we get into the Nintendo Selects era and I can play some stuff like Captain Toad and Yoshi on the cheap.
How dare you?
I thought this was interesting because like maybe you're just speaking for yourself, in which case that's also awesome and true. But like, as far as like what that stuff means for the sales and all that, like when I can tell somebody, hey, you can buy a Switch for $300 or $250 at that point, maybe, I don't know. And then also buy these 5 of my favorite games for only $100 more. Like that's a very strong selling point to get someone in the door.
Yeah. I had this issue when 2 friends of mine bought a Switch at the same time on Black Friday last year.
Wait, who disputed that? I'm confused.
Huh?
I said, who disputed that? When you said maybe you're just speaking for yourself, but he said,
no, I was just saying maybe he was just speaking for himself as far as like I want Mario Kart 9, I want Nintendo Select, but I'm like, what does that mean? Not just for you, but for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's true.
So these 2 friends both bought Switches at the same time. Then I was like, they're like, what should I play? I was like, so I made this list. I was like, you've got to play Breath of the Wild, you've got to play Mario Odyssey, you've got to. I just did this big list of all the best games, and they were like, cool. I was going to borrow those games off you, and I was like, well, you can't both borrow all the games off. So like, my entire game collection was just like split between these 2 people.
Yep.
And I had to like pass games between people, blah 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 blah. And I was like, it's rare. Like if I was to buy a PS4 at that point. And I was like, what are the best? This is all the best PS4 games. Someone would give me a list. And I would be able to go and buy all of those for incredibly cheap. And then I would also be able to, go back and play all of the third-party stuff I want to play ever. The buying the console for cheap, and then getting all of the games for cheap. And, it's very easy to promote package is that like, oh yeah, just buy a PS4 for cheap and then just pick up all the games like really easily, get them digitally, whatever. Whereas the Switch is like, buy the Switch, then trickle your way through the
as if you bought it at launch and are doing the same thing that we've been doing for the past 4 years.
Like, I want to play Breath of the Wild, I want to play Mario Odyssey. Okay, cool. You're probably going to want to have to buy those games one by one and then maybe like trade them in to afford the other one because not everyone can afford to buy a $50 game, $60 game, however much these games cost. And they don't go on sale often enough to say it's not like this is like God of War and it goes down to a tenner every other month. It's Breath of the Wild, which is even older than God of the War, and maybe might go to $40. Grab it now while you can. So it's a harder sell, I guess. So I think Nintendo Selects, if they were to do that, would not only just make those games specifically an easier sell, it would make buying a console and then being able to catch up on all of the best games an easier sell.
I think the problem is a lot of those games that are that immediate recommendation are not going to be on Nintendo Select. Because the reason why most games still are $60 is because they still sell at $60.
yeah.
Right.
Whereas like God of War and all that stuff,
Yeah, but I mean, even so, like things like Yoshi. Okay, maybe not going to.
yeah, Yoshi, Captain
Kirby.
Toad, like those games, Kirby, I can see those being on Nintendo Select. But I mean, like even like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I can't see them putting that on Nintendo
I mean, I
Select.
think I can imagine further down the road when we're at the point that it's starting to look like the new console is closer around the corner. I think that's when we would see, because like we've seen on other consoles, like A Link Between Worlds, like that's a big 3DS game. I mean, not the biggest 3DS game or anything like that, but like a lot of like the tentpole 3DS games or whatever did join Nintendo Select, whether first or later. But I feel like that's one of those things, like when we get to the end of the life cycle where it's just like incentivizing people to buy in now rather than waiting for the next gen system, I think that's when we'll see
I think the games that we might see on Nintendo Selects that are in that category are the Breath of the Wilds, because Breath of the Wild 2 exists. Like it's going to be like, oh, okay, Mario Odyssey 2 is out. Here's Mario Odyssey. But and Mario Kart 9 happened. Here's Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. But like, I don't think that they're going to throw like their tentpole games on Nintendo Selects until there's something that can be full priced in that same category. Like Captain Toad, Yoshi, they're going to be on there day one. But the big games, I just can't see it. I don't see them putting Pokemon Sword and Shield on there, you know?
Yeah. But there it is. That's that. I had one more comment, but you know, we're just going to go ahead and move on. Q&A, and then we'll be out here. Let's do it, y'all.
Let's do it.
YouTube community, we got 2 questions. The first from the Pagonging, who said, what is your favorite 3D Mario? What's the best of the pack? What series could get another package? Best favorite 3D Mario Odyssey.
Same. Yeah, Mario Odyssey.
All around the board.
Best of the pack. For me, Galaxy.
Probably Galaxy.
Yeah.
I haven't played it yet.
I don't know if I talked about this specifically, but I think the games definitely get better as time goes on. Like 64 is a thing. Sunshine improves on said thing. Galaxy improves on that.
Yeah. There is something missing from the Galaxy games. It's to me, as far as I like the exploration side of it, but as far as like what technically holds up as the best game, it's Galaxy for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've only played Sunshine on 64, so I'm going to go with Sunshine, but I'm assuming by the time I play Galaxy, I'm going to go, obviously, it's Galaxy.
Yep. And what series could get another package? Triforce Collection, Original Pokemon Collection, etc.
I think the next one.
Do you mean could as in is likely?
You're right. That's... I
mean, they could do a Triforce Collection because, like, if they do Skyward Sword, they could do Skyward Sword, Wind Waker, and Twilight Princess.
Yeah,
Wind Waker and Twilight Princess already exist.
In terms of like Zelda collection, because next year's Zelda anniversary, they could just do like an Ocarina collection, which is or Hero of Time collection, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask. Then they do like the sort of like the scattered heroes, I don't know, thing of like all the scattered timelines heroes, where it's the 3 you just mentioned. And then obviously the lead up to then being Breath of the Wild 2.
The thing, I mean, I feel like there's some questions about this. We'll get to that when we get to the Zelda thing. There's some other questions about it, but I have some thoughts. But I'll talk about that.
But Pokemon, no, I highly doubt that.
Yeah, honestly, Donkey Kong. You know, maybe if they,
I can see them doing Donkey Kong.
Pikmin 1 and 2. Actually, one of the first Action Point videos I made was collections that Nintendo should make. So
it's true.
Go watch that. Me not know how to edit videos yet.
And also, like, your tone was just different. Like your especially in like podcasts, your tone was like so much like less comfortable.
Yeah, because I wasn't probably.
Yeah.
And then the question goes on to say, or if you could design a 3D Mario, what aspects of different games would you keep or throw away?
I don't know. I think that it would just mostly be like, as far as mechanics go, outside of Cappy, keep Mario's movement with how it is in Odyssey. And then like, you know, like the exploration design philosophy rather than like the more 2D Mario inspired, like get to the goal sort of thing.
Which isn't that kind of what the sort of the 3D World games are like, where it's kind of like it takes 3D
Yeah,
Mario's
they're like the 2D,
controls.
like get to the goal.
Yeah.
Sort of.
I would take Mario. You know how like there's that new Ratchet and Clank game where they go through the portals. What about if it was just Mario Odyssey 2, but you go through portals and you throw the hat through a portal, you go to a different world, and instead of you traveling on your spaceship, you go from portal to portal to dimension to dimension, and things get real weird.
I'm down.
Yeah,
I mean, I think as long as the philosophy, I would like at least one more game with the Odyssey philosophy, and then they can sidetrack to something different. I'm fine with that. You know, like like Odyssey 2, and then like essentially Galaxy 3, 3D World, you know, that kind of a thing. Anything, you know, but as long as there's one more game like Odyssey in the here and now, I'm happy. Sam Diaz asks, what are some other games that you want to be put in a collection on Switch? We're going to have many of these.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, we just kind of said some, but yeah, Pikmin, Donkey Kong, Metroid, obviously.
I would like Metroid, a 2D Metroid. So it's like, if you could do a collection that is Zero Mission, whatever the remake of 2 was called, Samus Returns.
Oh, yeah.
Super Metroid, then Fusion, like, you know, the 4, the 4-pack.
The updated version of, would that be weird going?
I want all the Kid Icarus
like updated
games.
1, updated 2. You know what I mean? All the Kid Icarus.
Yeah, I want the Kid Icarus game on, you know, on the NES, and then it was on Game Boy Advance, one of those. And then for
the Uprising.
And the same collection.
Golden Sun, y'all. Golden Sun collection.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Please.
Yeah. Batman Arkham collection is one I've always wanted.
Oh, that's true.
There it is.
Quick segue, not for long. I mean, you're just going to say this and we'll move on. Did we need to go back to when we guessed all of the remember all those leaked SKUs came out that was like Warner Brothers 1, Capcom 1. We need to go back through that and check what they were and see if we were right.
Interesting.
Let's do that on another episode.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, I can't even go back and find that right now.
Do that as a video. Do that as a video. Do like I want to guess if you will be like, are we psychic?
And we're just like 0 for 20.
Yeah.
Now questions from Twitter. Pixelpar asks, Who
even is that, dude?
Pixelpar asks, if you could replace one game in the collection for another Mario title, which would it be and why?
Mario 64.
With what?
What would you swap it for?
I would swap it with freaking Galaxy 2, dude.
Okay. I would swap Mario 64 with 64 DS. Because I played 64 DS, and therefore, when I play 64, I don't feel like I'm playing the game I played as a child. I feel like, or as an 11-year-old. Wait.
I mean, that's still a child, but
I am just playing like an outdated game. However, if I started the game as Yoshi and I got to play as Wario and I got to play as Luigi and all that stuff that I enjoyed from,
I'd be down for that.
There's something for that for sure.
I'd be down for that.
I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't, to be perfectly honest. Like, if I could take one out and put a different one in, like, I can't realistically think of it, because I wouldn't want to take out Galaxy and put in Galaxy 2, because I've played Galaxy 2 and I haven't played Galaxy. And like, I like the theming of like, these are the 3 generation, you know, like, yeah, exactly. And like, even the next 3D games of like 3D World or 3D Land or whatever, like, aren't this we're getting 3D World, but like, they're not the same, you know, kinds of things. So I don't know. I would.
Yeah. I agree with the whole theming thing and stuff like that. I just mean in terms of like what game I would prefer to play.
Yes, that totally makes sense. I disagree for me personally, but
I know.
I'll allow it in your alternate world. Alex asks, have you guys ever played a Metroid Prime game? And if so, which one is your favorite? Also, AJ, really enjoying the streams.
Thanks. Yes. I played a little bit of all 3 of them, but never finished any of them. I think same thing that stopped me with Luigi's Mansion. Other stuff came out, you know, it's like, I'll play this instead. Or in the case of the third one, I was borrowing that. I didn't own that one.
Oh, okay. I have personally played through all of the Metroid Prime games and very much enjoyed every single one of them. I don't know if you've heard how much I like Metroid Prime.
You like Metroid?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's weird.
It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, so I played a Metro game. My favorite one is definitely the first one, I think.
Okay.
The second one, I think, adds a very Nintendo-y gimmick to it that, works at the start and by the end it's like, eh. And I think 3 is the second best. I think it goes 1, 3, 2. But feel free to debate with me about that.
I'll debate you right now. I think that the first one finishes terribly. It's a horrible ending.
They didn't even do an ending. It wasn't even there.
You
that I
don't
saw.
know how it ends.
It's only 6 hours long, dude.
I have played only a little bit of the first one, so I'm looking forward to playing them if and when they do come out on Switch.
When they come out on Switch, confirmed.
Yep. So there you go.
When we do that, I'm going to be really busy. Just doing like this mad podcast tour. I'm just gonna be like,
I mean, like
you and Rob from Rule to Review both. That's like gonna be.
I'm just gonna like,
guys.
I'm just gonna throw myself around. Like, you're not gonna see me for a while. Unless like,
we gotta get you on the Wolf Den podcast whenever that comes back.
See, I don't really have anything like that, and I realize that, and that's maybe I should change that somehow.
Yeah, get
Golden Sun. Probably
you gotta double down on freaking Zelda. You gotta be an even bigger Zelda fan now. So you can be the Zelda guy.
Well, Zelda Universe likes you guys a lot, so you could be the
Zelda
Zelda
Universe. They're great.
True.
Yeah,
dude.
All right. Several questions from Dark Type Music, who asked, if you could include one more 3D Mario game to the 3D All Stars besides Galaxy 2, what would you choose? There's not that many other 3D Mario games.
3D
Land is kind of your only option.
3D Land.
Because 3D World is coming out separately, so.
Right.
3D Land. That's what I say.
That's what it is.
Yep. Yeah. Max agrees. Yeah. Do you think Metroid Prime Trilogy could release next year alongside a possible Zelda 3D collection? And then
I think it could, but why should it?
I don't think that they will happen at the same time. I think because of the anniversary. I know. So every single time Zelda has an anniversary, it also happens to be the same time as Metroid's getting one. So I sit there with my little party hat on my own, on my own, and everyone's like, "Oh, Zelda!" So I'm, next year is definitely going to be like a hot Zelda year. It's going to be a lot of, new Zelda stuff, probably a collection. I think that we're not going to see the Prime Trilogy. If we don't see it at the start of next year, I think we're probably going to end up having to wait until.
When's the next Prime anniversary?
Here's
2022 is when it's 20 years of Prime specifically.
Yeah, I think that would probably be when we get it.
Because here's what I think.
I just can't Nintendo. Okay, hold your thought. I'm sorry.
I will. No, you're
good.
But
Nintendo, they double dip on like their big games, where it's like Pokemon and Smash Brothers, but they usually try to, if they drop 2 big games, they're different audiences. I feel like Metroid and Zelda, that audience is pretty close in terms of the type of people that they want to appeal to. So I can't see them releasing them that close together. And I think that if they're at this point, if they're going to do the Prime trilogy, they're going to do it in the same year that they're going to do Prime 3.
Cool.
Prime 4.
Prime 4? Oh,
yeah, Prime 4.
So, okay. My thoughts are pretty different from both of yours. First of all, the next question, too, also from Dark Type Music is, I'll just read it because I'm going to talk about both together. Since it's a possibility that we may get ports of 3D Zelda games next year, what games would you like included in a Zelda 35th anniversary collection? I personally am leaning towards there's not a Zelda 3D collection. That would be partly because but I think that means, so my guess for the 35th anniversary is I think Skyward Sword remaster middle of the year ish, and then Breath of the Wild 2 at the end of the year. So that gives us 3 big releases with one kind of middle-ish one.
I don't know.
But
I can see them doing a 3D collection with the Wii U ports, but at the same time, I don't know.
Here's the problem with it.
Have to.
Oh,
they
exactly.
could 100% release all 3 of them separately if they wanted to.
I think the problems that they face are, number one, exactly that. But also whereas Mario, outside of Mario 64 on the DS, just doesn't do remakes. It's just like all new game, and then leave the one where it is. So now an All-Stars collection with the original games makes sense. Zelda does remakes all the time. We don't necessarily think about it, but Ocarina of Time got a remake on the DS. Majora's Mask did. Then Wind Waker got a remaster, but it also like fixed a bunch of stuff. And then Twilight Princess, same kind of thing. So like they're in this weird middle ground where like for each of the games, they've got two very different options of what they could bring over, which I think will make it hard for them, or not make it hard, but like will make this conversation a lot more complicated. Whereas for us now, it's like, it's the originals for the Mario games, but for those, it's like, they could have done this other one. So like, yeah, I think that does leave room open to get back to the like main question for the Metro Prime trilogy still to come out next year without too much trouble. Cause also like, you don't want too much Zelda burnout by the time your next big Zelda game comes out.
Yeah, true.
You know, because like a Mario collection, that's easy to just dip in and out of, but Zelda games are like chunky games.
Yeah.
So those are all of my thoughts with that. However, maybe a Zelda 2D collection could happen.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying to Pete the other day that the Pete of LootPots,
right?
That the next
Gotta get him on here.
Yeah, yeah, man. Like, I thought you guys would get on really well, you know.
Yeah. We gotta just, if somebody knows how to clip stuff, clip that.
There we go. When Link's Awakening came out, when we were talking about like, you know, what would be like the next Zelda remake, and I was saying, well, they should be just like a Capcom Zelda collection.
Yeah, for sure. The Oracle games, Minish Cap,
and Minish Cap, like just, you know, I mean, the Oracle games are going to be fairly similar, but it would essentially be like there was a third Oracle game that combined elements of the two.
They were supposed to be, and then it just didn't make it.
I think it would just be that. Yeah, it would just be
be
that one that sort of like combines the two, and then Minish Cap. Those two games remade in like a similar style to how Link's Awakening would be, I think would be a great way to, you know, not only reintroduce people to the to those games, but also just to celebrate Zelda without doing it in the obvious, like here's another 3 3D collection. So
yep, and there it is. So I've got more thoughts on the 35th anniversary stuff, but we're going to be talking about that so much over the next year. So moving on, we'll probably have to rapid fire some of these, but Discord questions. Mars asks, how do you feel about the new controls for each game? Also 64 not being the original version. In my opinion, it not being the original deters the speedrun community, which was huge to this game, but doesn't affect the casual players at all. Basically alienates an entire portion of the player base.
I think it's a portion that Nintendo doesn't really care about personally.
I mean, it's like Melee to Smash kind of a thing, where it's like, if they're going to keep speedrunning it, they're going to keep speedrunning the original. And maybe like this will be a whole new category of speedrun is the Switch version, but like it's the same version as other ones have been, so probably not. But yeah, I think that won't really matter at all. And, you know, for them, it's like, oh, it's fun that I can play it on the Switch now if I want. It'll look better, but it's two separate experiences for sure.
You just reminded me how important Melee fans think they are.
Still, do you think? I mean, AJ,
yes,
you would know.
1000%, yes. Yes. So and just with how Smash Brothers, like that scene works, they like worship the people that are like you know, well, I'm not going to mention names, because a bunch of them are redacted, but but yeah, like so much of them are just like huge. Like these people are giant, like 200, 300, 400,000 plus followers and stuff like that, right? And their followers all are like, well, so-and-so says this game is great and every other game sucks, so that's what I think too, you know. It's like that whole thing. Man, so yeah,
that's crazy. But how do you guys feel about the new controls for each game?
I think they should have updated 64.
They should have done so much more out of 64. Even if like there was that port, the PC port that came out recently, obviously a port being used in
right.
But there's got to be like a way that you can emulate or even just change the controls on an emulated version of a game. And by controls, I mean camera controls.
Right.
All that game needs to be better than it is a workable camera that you can control as you're moving, that you can control in a way that like you can set yourself up and sweep through a jump, tracking yourself, as opposed to having to like, okay, this is the best angle for the jump. God, I hope I don't mess this up.
It's like you're setting up a tripod versus having a handheld camera.
Like there's that bit on the third world, or the second world, where like on the second bit there's the tower and there's the plank, and you have to kick the plank twice for it to fall down onto the arrow, and you walk across the arrow. But like the run up for me to jump and kick that plank, because I was trying to like get a run up to do a kick, and the amount of times I just went, oh yeah, I've just missed the plank. Because I've set the camera up in such a way that I've tried to do it. Because also I want to be able to see if there's a bullet bill coming at me, and it just doesn't work. But if there was a camera I could move, I'm like, cool, set it up, rotate it, go.
Yep. It is funny how much too, like, it's the jumping, like you said, is pretty similar to Mario Odyssey. And, you know, like there's tweaks, it's different for sure. But the number of times that I've done a long jump and then started to hit the button prompts to do hat throw to dive to hat throw to like, it's just funny.
I think that the thing about
Odyssey is crazy.
Like Odyssey and other later Mario games, it just feels better to control him mid-air. Like the feeling of getting off the ground is similar, but the thing that makes it different is it's easier to course correct because they understand, oh shoot, we're in a 3-dimensional space, but you don't have any actual depth perception.
Right.
So you need to be able to course correct in the air to make up for that. And
like the only thing you can do here is ground pound, but you can't always ground pound. And it's as opposed to doing like the twirl in, you know, Galaxy or whatever. Yeah. I think that's obviously that's something that they realized as well because they've implemented it in every single other one. So,
yeah. And it's, I mean, it's also like Smash Brothers players specifically will understand this more, but like air acceleration and stuff like that, right? Like he has more air acceleration, so you can control him a little bit better in the newer games than you can in Odyssey. I mean, in 64, where it's like more of a set jump arc than it is in newer games.
True. Okay. Here we go. Rapid fire. Duncan, if Nintendo were to make Mario Party All-Stars or Mario Sports All-Stars, which 3 games would you want them to remaster for those?
I mean, for Mario Party, I guess.
Dealer's choice.
1, 2, 3. I don't get like whatever.
Mario Party just redo
2, 4, 6.
Redo the 100 best games, but
they already did that. And it's bad.
I'm saying like redo it on Switch in a better way, and that like you do like you have one base game that's really good, and all the games are like the best 100 best game. And sports, you do the soccer game. Football game.
You did it. You did it. Now you're going to get ousted. You're going to get exiled.
You lost all your British points.
No.
You have not kept up appearances.
Put me in the trunk and run me over on the sidewalk.
Rip,
Anyway.
yeah, you do strikers. You do sluggers.
You get the best. You get the best golf.
You
game.
get
of each sport.
I want to get the ones that they don't do often. So hoops, sluggers, and strikers. You know,
I feel you.
Because we're going to get another golf game. We're going to get another tennis game. You know, like.
Which I'm in retrospect, like, or not retrospect, but like I'm excited about a new Mario golf game. That'll be fun.
Yeah, it's neat.
It's gotta happen. Joker says, "What are your thoughts about including Galaxy 1 but not Galaxy 2 in the collection?" I think it makes sense, but it sucks a little bit. Yeah, you know,
massive shame, especially considering the 2 games are because they're 10 years old and then some have sort of been almost gathered together as like these are the 2 best games on the Wii.
Right.
So to have like the second one, which is arguably people say is the second the better one because it has so many other ideas. You know.
Yep. I'm with you. Honestly, I don't know I feel like their thoughts with what they're going to do with Galaxy 2 at this point are just to not. That's my honest guess. Like, I don't think they feel like they're under any obligation to bring it over. So I think if they didn't do it here, unless they do something where they split these 3 out and sell them separately later after this collection is done and then also bring Galaxy, I could see that. But yeah, I think otherwise they'll just not do anything with it. Sardi asks, having completed all 3, which was ported the best? I haven't completed all 3.
I have not done either.
I don't know.
I'm going to assume. I'm going to make a guess and say that Galaxy was ported the best.
I haven't completed all of them, but I would probably say Sunshine.
I was going to say
because Sunshine doesn't feel like it's missing anything. But then again, I'm not as familiar with Sunshine as I am the other 2.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So Galaxy feels like they ported it well, but it doesn't feel like Galaxy did on the Wii. And not a terrible way, but I think it's more of a negative bend.
I mean, it kind of like
that.
I was just gonna say, like Galaxy also like Sunshine probably had more room to go, especially as far as it being like 16:9 and like better 1080p, blah, 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 upscaled and all that stuff. Whereas Galaxy, like definitely the upscaling makes it look way better. And I don't know about the gameplay because I haven't played it, but I feel like just like it already looked good. Now it looks better version of good, but Sunshine went from Sunshine to better Sunshine now.
Right.
And like the camera's not inverted anymore and that kind of stuff, like just quality of life things that are like, it just makes the game.
That's it. I do want to say, I don't know if I brought this up, but the camera in Sunshine is better
Still
than
bad?
64, but it's not good. Like I gotta at least state that it's not a good camera. It's fine. It's like, okay, this is acceptable.
Yeah. Grimane asks, will people finally realize that Mario 64 does not live up to the nostalgia, or will they continue to cling to their laughably crazy belief that a broken camera and clunky controls make it the best 3D Mario game?
I never thought I'd be agreeing with Grimhane on this podcast. So I'm going to have to, everything I said before, pranks, bro. Mario 64 is the absolute best sublime Mario game. In fact, best video game of all time. I can't do it. I can't. I've got too much respect for myself.
You already threw your freaking self out to dry here with the football soccer thing, you know?
Debacle.
Just
I think I will be curious to see, what percentage of people change their opinions on any of these? Like just in general, Sunshine,
I think
64.
I think zero people.
I mean,
will.
like,
because they're already driven by nostalgia. It's not like these games they didn't change anything.
Right.
So like, just like you could play this game yesterday, you know, on your freaking N64 or Wii U or Wii or and still be like, no, this game's great. You're going to. I think the only
people whose opinions are going to change are like the Bob with Luigi's Mansion kind of situation where he was mad in the context that it's like, I want a Mario game or a Mario game, but this is Luigi's Mansion instead. Like that kind of thing. Like I watched the Game Explain review and Andre was like, I actually kind of liked my time with Super Mario Sunshine, even though he's notoriously not liked it. But I think, a lot of that was he still has problems with. I think there's like little margins of error for that, but most people it's just going to be.
Yeah, I think that's pretty likely as far as like people that have like played this game, formed an opinion, said they didn't like it, and then came back and say, I actually like this. I doubt that it's going to be people that staunchly defend these games and say this game is the best freaking Mario game I play
because that's
once
not how
a
that
year.
works.
Like
So there you go. Question from Bigfoot Boudreaux. Asks, thinking about why the 3D Mario games were left largely unchanged. I wonder if a reason why some things weren't improved is because improving them would be in some way admitting they're a problem in the first place. For example, the camera in 64, wonky physics in Sunshine. A lot of adjustments that were made are purely technological, like improving the resolution. But when it comes to design choices, it may go beyond preserving the original games and wanting to respect the work of the original development team who may not have worked on 3D All-Stars at all. What are your thoughts?
I don't think that's what it is, because I think that if that was their thinking, they would have never made the changes to begin with, right? Like the same design principles for 64 would have been applied to Sunshine, and they wouldn't have improved on them if they were like, nope, we were right the first time. I do think that it's more so a thing of like, people love these games currently in the way that they exist, and there would be more people that would be mad if we changed it than people that would notice that we changed it and be happy about it. So we're going to not change it.
I think it's kind of an all or nothing. Great question or great comment. Like, I like the way that you thought about it. I agree that I don't think that's the way that Nintendo thought about it. But I think it's largely that it's an all or nothing kind of thing. Like, either if they change something, they just got to change all these things, because otherwise, like, what's the point? Suddenly now people are watching you like, oh, you're changing things, so like you should change some things.
It was kind of like what I said earlier, where it's like if they ported it natively, I would have been like, well fix this game.
Suddenly you're subject to scrutiny, where now they're subject to a different kind, but like it's more ideological kind rather than technological or whatever.
Right.
I don't think updating old games to match more modern sensibilities and modern ideas, even ones Nintendo themselves introduced, is really admitting that there's a problem, admitting something's wrong, because we now have an entire other stick that can control the camera, and back then they only had the buttons, and it was like you had to, you cycle through them because that was the option, whereas now move the camera around and that's that. I don't think that changing it would admit they were wrong, but I can see why they would have left it on its own.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. 2 more questions. Grimhane, enough about Mario All-Stars. When will we get the collection of the real hero? When will we see Boy Zelda All Rupees? I really liked this one. It's good.
Next year, dude.
I didn't think about All-Star. Like, they kind of bring up that they're not doing enough with the All-Star pun. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, also, they wouldn't call it all rupees, dude.
No, of course not.
They would call it all coins if that was the, like...
It would be all...
Also, the original All-Star came out before they introduced the stars to pick up in 64.
Like, how fitting that now it's a thing.
Yeah.
Last question. Mega Man, no question from me this week, guys, but just wanted to say keep up the awesome work.
So you lied to me.
I did. It's not a question. I didn't read it ahead of time. Keep up the awesome work?
Question mark?
Got it. Thanks, Mega Man. You're a trooper.
Thanks, Mega Man.
Thanks,
and that's it. Thanks
everything I do,
listening. You can find us on the street, hanging out, waving outside of our cars.
Just go outside and say, "Hey,
there we are.
Good podcast."
Here's okay. So I won't be here next week because vacation and stuff. I think I'll still be doing a video. But as far as being on the podcast. But on my team calls, I tell a dad joke every day. And this week I set my away message on my email to include 5 jokes for while I'm gone. And one of them, for some reason, I just thought of and thought I'd share it with all of y'all. What's the worst what's the scariest joke what's the scariest kind of joke to hear in space? A knock-knock joke.
Nice.
There you go.
Now, the best thing about that joke was definitely the delivery.
Yeah, UPS. All right. But that's it from us. Hey, do all the things.
Oh, also check out freaking LootPots, in the description.
Oh, yeah.
Since Max didn't do a good job at all.
I plug LootPots.
I plugged them enough. The plug is already
every day in my day-to-day life. As if the LootPots tattoo isn't good enough, man. I don't have.
Let's see it. Let's see it.
No, I wish. I wish.
You wish? Then make it happen, dude.
I have just had an idea for one, so.
Okay.
Good.
Got it. Anyway,
when I come visit you guys in America, we can get tattoos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Let's do it. All right.
Alrighty.
Do all the things. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you for being here.